Sit back and relax while I listen to Train Kickers podcast. I'm Dave, and along with my co-hosts Dan and Steve, we're going to take you all around the world of miniature wargaming. On tonight's episode, we're going to be going through the Sisters of Silence for Warhammer 30k. Our goal for this is to do like we've done with the other deep dives. We're going to be spending a bit more time talking about models, model choices, where you can get all of that, especially because there's only a few plastic kits and all. So we're going to make sure that's a highlight. So if this is an army that you have interest in, that we tell you all the different ways you could actually build this together. For any other sort of start of the thing announcements, still have a few more things working on editing. I was doing some of it today and then I just got lazy and stopped, but we should hopefully have a couple other things out in the immediate future. And then we still do have, for anyone who listened to our predictions episode, the Google form is still out. Like I said, I'm keeping it open for a couple months, so you do have that to fill out. If not, you can listen and see if you agree with any of us. So far, the ones I've looked at, just taking a quick glance, you know, it's our predictions aren't looking good, so we'll see how that goes. But hey, let us know otherwise. So we'll see how all that shakes out. But otherwise, on to the show. All right, so tonight goal is to talk about these sisters.
Yes.
Does anyone actually want to do a little fluff related to them in case someone's not as familiar?
I got this.
Okay.
Because I actually love them. I actually do. This is actually a really cool
and this
army.
is an army you have.
Yes. I own about 100. So,
right.
So the Sisters of Silence are actually really, really cool. So they're basically a separate but also paired wing of the Talons of the Emperor. Now, what's ironic, and we'll get into this later, is that in first edition, they were actually the same army. So you could take a Sister HQ and a Custodians HQ. They were part of the same unit. Now they're essentially a different army than the Custodians. But no matter, they're basically a different Talon of the Emperor. And what the Sisters of Silence are literally nulls. So for those who don't know what a null is, these are soulless people who are born soulless, who are basically psychic blanks. That they are literally anathema to the world. Anathema. They are a blank to the warp. And for demons to even look at them or touch them is even actually super hurtful for them. And the Sisters of Silence, these women, are essentially corralled when they are young, trained when they are young, and essentially they take a vow of silence, which is why they're called the Sister of Silence. And they're really cool because it's like in battle, it's very hard to focus on them because again, they're so blank that it's even by looking at them, they're blurry, essentially in your own vision, or you get a headache just looking at them because they're not supposed to be there. And they're completely silent as well. And what's cool is like people are like, oh, how do they communicate? They actually communicate through sign language, essentially battle sign language, which is super interesting. But essentially, yeah, they're used to basically capture psychers. They're used to great effect in the war in the webway because again, the thing that demons hate the most are people that, literally cast a reality bubble around them, essentially. Mm-hmm. I remember talking to someone, it's like, not STL, what they're called? The stupid SCP. It's like a reality anchor in an SCP, right? You just toss them in the middle of the battle and they're the reality anchor in the middle of the warp. And this is contentious, so bear with me. Controversial opinion coming up. In my opinion, they're the only ones who actually see the Emperor as the Emperor. There's a really cool scene where people
like his true form.
Yes. Now, here's the thing. Some people feel like, no, the Emperor's so powerful that he was just projecting that image to them. But there's a really cool scene where a sister is looking at the Emperor and she basically sees a normal man in pain on the golden throne. This was before, he was struck down by Horus. Spoilers. He gets struck down from
what?
Exactly. But she sees him on the throne because this is after Magnus ripped a hole in the throne room. And she just sees a man in pain, just like gritting and twitching. No golden glow, no nothing. And then it goes to the custodian. He's describing, he's like, he's a golden aura, an angelic sight of, right? And she's just like, he's just a dude in pain on a chair. Like, I'm not understanding. Okay. It's just really interesting to see their point of view because they are quite literally almost the most secular of the bunch. Anyway, that's the Sisters of Silence. My long rant.
That's all right. All right. So as we do with any sort of deep dives, we're going to start with just general army rules, warlord traits, and especially for them, because we're going to see some repeated options for every single unit. We're going to make sure we talk about this here. We'll bring it up as we go along. This way we don't have to keep repeating ourselves every time. Now, since Dan plays this army, I think he said specifically he wanted to talk a bit about their main rules. So do you want to do that?
Yeah, it's actually, so it seems complicated, but fun fact, it's actually a lot more simple than a lot of people said. So it's called Silent Sisterhood X, and it's 3 paragraphs long, well, 2 paragraphs and then an example, but honestly, it's just easier if I summarize it. So the idea of the Sister Silenthood Silent Sisterhood, apologies, Sister Silenthood, is that when you choose an HQ choice, right, that HQ choice is going to be one of 3 chambers. So it's going to be the chamber militant, or they're called one of the 3 chamber militants, sorry. It's going to be a vigilance chamber, an oblivion chamber, or a judgment chamber. And based off of the headquarters that you choose, you can take up to 3 of those chambers. So let's say you choose...
No, you can take up to 3 units of that chamber.
That's
not what you said.
You said up to 3 chambers.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
Up to 3 units
of...
I see I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I see what I said.
Most important word.
Yeah, but the units of the chamber, apologies. So the
not
example,
counting the HQ choice, so it's 3 additional.
For example, if you take a Knight Centura, is a chamber of oblivion, meaning I can take 3, not including the HQ, by the way, 3 units that are chamber of oblivion. So, for example, if you want an example, the chamber of oblivion unit can be the troop choice, which is the Vigilator Cadre. So, by taking the sister of Knight Centura, I can take 3 Vigilator Cadres. That's essentially how that works.
Yeah. And the Chamber of Vigilance is the unrestricted option. You can always have as many of those as you want.
Yes.
Okay, so just to go over it again, so it fully clicks for me. So if I take a Knight Centura, just put it in like words that everyone understands, right? Like Knight Centura Alpha Legion, right? I then take 3 more Alpha Legion.
Yes.
Exactly. Yes.
That's exactly what the rule does.
Yes. The only one that breaks that rule is the Vigilance Chamber, because
they're like the default one.
They're the default, essentially. But if you want to unlock some of the neat stuff, like Oblivion and I believe Judgment, that you do need a specific Oblivion or Judgment HQ. That's really it.
Yeah. Okay. So before we'll do and those different chambers have bonuses. We should talk about the bonuses those chambers.
I wasn't gonna talk about them because I thought that'd be too much.
Okay, so no, that's fine. All right, so I have them open. It's actually pretty simple. So if you're chamber vigilance, a lot of this actually plays very nicely into essentially what their goal is. So for chamber vigilance, before the game starts, you get to choose one of 2 special rules for those units: scout or infiltrate. And can you choose it for different units? A unit composed must be given one of the following. Yeah, so different.
Yep.
Yeah, so you can swap it. One vigilance unit gets scout, different one gets infiltrate, so on.
Yep.
And it mentions there, the only other special thing in there's mentioned that there's no restriction on these ones. If you're vigilance, you're not restricted.
Yep.
For Chamber of Oblivion, these are the ones designed more to fight against demons. So they have the fearless special rule if it's demons or corrupted. So if that's what they're fighting against in close combat. In Chamber Judgment, these are the ones designed more to go against psychers. So they have fearless if they're locked in combat with something that's a psyker.
Yep. Very simple.
So, yeah.
It's very simple, very, very easy.
The other thing I think we should do before we get into their warlord traits, there's a few things you're going to see on literally every single unit. Some have a little extra, but things you're going to see in every unit is that they all have hatred of psyker, demon, and corrupted. And all of them have the special rule of anathema.
Oh, yeah. So
I know you can't say it, but can you talk about what it is?
Okay. You know what? I could. Give me a second. I got to turn to that page. Because fun fact, I didn't know we were...
Makes sense to talk about here, because this way you don't have to mention it for everyone.
I was actually going to talk, because I was going to talk about it. I have it. When we talk about Krole, but that's fine. So anathema is a very, very long rule set. So I'm going to again summarize it because it's just to give you an idea.
It's fairly simple.
Yeah, it's fairly simple, but it's a very long rule set. So
and this is page 129 for anyone following along.
Yes. So first of all, the first summary. Basically, if you have at least one model, so not a unit, if you have one model with the Anathema subtype, you may not be directly targeted by any psychic powers or any psychic powers to make attacks with psychic weapons. So psychic weapons, psychic powers, or targeted by psychic powers do not affect that unit.
Yep.
At all. So if you, for example, if you're allying sisters and she's in a unit of Alpha Legion, I'll talk about why that's hilarious in a second. That unit cannot be targeted by psychic powers at all. Nope. She stops it. Okay. That's step one. The second bullet point. If the model, this time specifically the model, with the subtype Anathema is allocated wounds but caused by a psychic weapon, right? It will always fail to wound without any dice being rolled or special rules attached to that psychic weapon. Will not trigger. All right? Any wounds allocated to a model with the Anathema subtype caused by a force weapon also gains no benefits from the force special rules, but is resolved as normal. So essentially, if you're hit with a psychic weapon, like the psychic discipline weapons, nothing happens. You're not wounded. If you're hit with a force weapon, if you turned it on, it gets turned off, essentially. But you still get hit as normal. So if you get hit with a force, I don't know, Thunderhammer? I'll use that. Let's say there's a force Thunderhammer. You don't double the strength. You get hit with a normal Thunderhammer and still brutal, but you don't get hit by a strength 14 or whatever the hell.
Why don't you just go with a force sword? It's so much easier thing because Thunderhammers are going to double you out.
Because I was thinking like special rules. Oh, I guess power swords have ending now. I completely forgot. I like I was saying, it doesn't shut off the special rule. It just shuts off the double.
It shuts off force.
Yeah.
That's all it does.
I should point out that, by the way, if they're in a transport, this does not happen. Now, the transport may or may not have Anathema attached to it, like the actual transport, but when they're embarked in a transport, this rule doesn't exist, right?
Yeah.
All models that do not have the Anathema subtype, but are part of the unit that include one or more models with this type, suffer a -2 leadership characteristic, which is a heavy toll. That's a -2 leadership to anyone who's not Anathema. Any unit with at least one model within 6 inches of a model with an Anathema subtype suffer a penalty of 1- leadership to all models. Fun fact. Actually, that's going to be the next bullet point, so I'll get to that in a moment. So basically, if you're in the unit, -2. If you're within 6 inches, -1. If you're corrupted, -2 again.
Not again. They do not
stack. No, sorry. They do not stack, but -2 back to -2, essentially. They don't stack with things that modify fear, like fear. Or sorry, they do stack, apologies. They do stack with things that affect leadership, like fear. And this is where it gets interesting. This rule, this effect of leadership cuts through stubborn.
Yeah.
This is very important.
The last bullet point mentions this.
Yes. This cuts through stubborn. So if you are stubborn and, I don't know, stubborn leadership 10, does not matter. If she's in your unit, you are leadership 8.
Yep.
So that's one of the more important rules, that this cuts through stubborn. So that's
an opponent stubborn, because remember, they affect units within 6 inches.
Anyone that's stubborn, it doesn't matter. Yeah. You're fighting next to spooky, scary ladies. They're gonna scare you.
Yeah, but it mentions it, and obviously, so if you're in a vehicle fortification building, you don't take penalties. But that's true. Auras don't go into or out of buildings, vehicles.
Could you imagine if they're in what is that big fortress called? With the missiles, the one that has like the Dark Angel symbology. I always forget.
The
Fortress of Redemption.
Fortress of Redemption.
Yeah, Redemption. Yeah.
Or the Aquila Strongpoint. That's also a big one.
Yeah. All right. So that gives a basic primer to their overall rules. Again, because there's going to be a lot of similarities. Like the first mob we're going to talk about also gets like an extra hatred on something, but otherwise, all of them have those hatreds, which makes sense, and all of them have anathema.
Yep.
All right. And Dan specifically asked to talk about the first person here. So we're going to go through their units.
What?
Oh, Warlord traits. Oh, yeah.
Yes, the coolest stuff, in my opinion. Right. They got some really cool ones.
These are pretty cool. These are pretty cool. I want the second one.
Okay. Well, I'll take the first one.
The second one.
That's fine with me. All right. So, Warlord traits, we're looking at page 40. So, Maiden of Blood. At the end of any combat in the assault phase that includes this Warlord, after all attacks have been made before the winner is decided, this Warlord's controlling player may choose to inflict D6 wounds with an AP value of dash on the Warlord's own unit. You get to allocate it. They are not counted for deciding which side wins combat. Once these wounds are resolved, the Warlord and each remaining model in the same unit may make one additional attack each. Any wounds caused are counted for deciding which side wins the combat. You also get an extra reaction during the assault phase, as long as the Warlord has not been removed as a casualty, and may select an additional unit from the Warlord's Chamber Militant as part of the same detachment as the Warlord. So, so the combat that the Warlord is in, before you determine essentially the winner, you'll know who's won, essentially. But before the results have been decided, you can decide inflict D6 wounds on your own side, AP dash, so you do get your saves, and much like Sisters of Battle, Sisters of Silence tend to be a 3-up save. After that, then everyone who's left over in the unit gets to do one more attack, and those count for winning the combat. So if you're tied or losing the combat, or you just want to maybe try and kill them out because there's only another, say, model or two, gives you a decent option.
Yeah.
I don't know the units quite well enough yet. We'll be going through them, of course. I don't know them quite well enough to know if I want to be doing this very often.
If you have the right level of allegiance, you could join allied units. So I think, in theory, if you were buddy-buddy with, like, say, salamanders, which...
You could do this with fire drakes.
Yeah, I was just thinking fire drakes and how disgusting that would be.
Yes,
that's my thought. I worry about this kind of stuff on someone with a 3-up save. Because if you have a 3-up save, I could, again, not that you're going to always, but if you roll the 6 and you have a 3-up save, I could be losing multiple. But if I don't roll as bad, or I happen to have some 2-up saves in there, I'm much less worried about this. Or even multiple wound models, because now I'm less likely to lose one or more.
Now, as a reminder, you get -2 leadership, so now those fire drakes are leadership 8. But
it's your Warlord. You're taking on your Warlord's thing. That doesn't matter. You don't care if they're lesser leadership.
But it's just funny. It's a really good... I've seen this in action, used with Suzerain. I was just
going to say, I pulled up the allies chart. So the allied options that you could join, I think you have to be sworn to join, right?
Yep.
Yes, you have to be sworn to join.
Yeah. Okay. So that would be the Ultramarines.
Yep. Suzerain. Yep.
The Sons of Horus. The Word Bearers. The Salamanders. And if you have Alpha Legion as your primary, Alpha Legion.
And we'll talk about Alpha Legion fuckery in a bit. Sorry for the curse, but there is Alpha Legion. Oh, God. I know I showed Steve, and Steve almost threw up all over the table. But yeah, no, it's a really good Warlord trait. And the extra Chamber Militant unit is pretty cool, too. Because taking an extra Oblivion is really nice.
Or either one. This doesn't... put you into one
or the other, Judgment is pretty cool. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Steve said he wanted the second one.
Oh, yes. We got the Maiden of Resolve. So once per battle, at the start of any of your turns, controlling player's turns, you can activate the Warlord trait. Until the start of the controlling player's next turn, so you have this for one full turn, your turn and your opponent's. The Warlord and a unit they join may not move, either moving or part of their actions, but they automatically pass all morale checks and pinning checks without rolling any dice. You gain Feel No Pain 4-up and the Eternal Warrior special rule. You also get a bonus reaction in the shooting phase, and you can take one extra unit from the same chamber.
This is pretty cool.
That one's exceedingly strong.
Yeah. So I saw this used with, there's a unit later on, a flamer unit that can trade their flamers for meltas. And I want to say they're a 15-man unit. I hate the fact that it's 15, by the way. I'm going to say it right now. God, it kills me on the inside that they do 15. I just want to check, though, real quick, if it is meltas or the Firebrands.
All right. Well, while you look that up.
No, I already checked.
Out loud. Okay. Go ahead.
It took 5 seconds. But no, they can only take flamers. But there is a unit that takes like multi-meltas or meltas, and because they get Eternal Warrior, that unit gets all of a sudden a 4+ feel no pain with Eternal Warrior with a bunch of like heavy-duty weapons is absolutely insane and hilarious.
That's the key feature is the Eternal Warrior on that, because feel no pain is great, but when you're toughness 3, you're getting doubled out a lot more than Space Marine, so that's a legitimate concern. Being Eternal Warrior means that you are getting that save in addition, so you're often a 3-up, 4-up, assuming you get your first save.
You could also use this for like your elite bodyguard units that have 2 wounds. They actually are armed with 2 wounds. Are armed? They contain 2 wounds. So that's really cool to use as well, because now you have a 2 wound, 4 feel no pain Eternal Warrior unit. Sure, they don't move, but if they're locked in combat, who gives a shit? Like, who cares?
Yeah, it shouldn't matter too much as long as your models haven't done so well, say the first round, that not being able to get a consolidation would be a problem. But if you're careful about that, or if you just need to survive out, you need to lock someone down, this is a great way to lock them down.
Oh yeah.
All right. So how about the Maiden of Sorrow then?
I actually like this one a lot. So when this Warlord in any unit that has joined suffers an unsaved wound, the Warlord that has this trait in all models in a unit it has gain a bonus to +1 to their attack and movement characteristics to a maximum of +4 in either characteristic until the end of the controlling player's next turn. If the Warlord is removed as a casualty when locked in combat, the opposing player gains no victory points for it or from any objectives or special rules. In addition, you may make an additional reaction during the opponent's movement phase, and also you get an extra Chamber Militant. So essentially, every time someone from your unit dies, or takes an unsaved wound, I should say, sorry, because sometimes they're 2 wounds, you get a +1 bonus to attack or movement up to a maximum +4.
It doesn't say or.
No, yeah, hold on. Oh, I'm sorry. You know what screwed me up, by the way? Because in the parentheses, it's to a maximum of 4+ to either characteristic.
Yeah.
So
that's why I was setting it to be an equal max of both.
Exactly.
But no, it's not or. You get and.
Yeah. So that, you get +4 attack. So units go up to 15. You lose 4 dudes or take 4 unsaved wounds. Your entire unit armed with essentially power swords, better power swords, is now at +4 and +4 move. They're just angry. I love this one. This one is actually one of my more favorite ones, to be quite honest.
Well, yeah, if you favor close combat, this one wins hands down. You need to get there, and if you start hitting that unit, you have to make sure you take them out.
Yeah.
Because you can't let them walk around with +4 attacks each.
Jesus.
I mean, you could. It's just a really bad idea.
You don't do
it's
that.
It's a bad idea. Or +4 movement, too, which is absolute insanity.
Yeah.
Because most of them move 6, and now they're just movement 10, which is...
and you've removed all Slay the Warlord sort of pieces.
Yes, there's no Slay the Warlord for you, which is actually one of my more cooler things. I do like it when you kind of deny only small things, because when you deny a whole thing, then it gets annoying. But when you deny small things like that, it does make it kind of cool. I know a Mechanicum guy used to do that in first edition, where he would port his brain through this new sphere up to the spaceship so you wouldn't get Warlord kill. So this kind of cool that the sisters don't do this in this Warlord trait.
All right. To me, if you want close combat, that one's the absolute winner. If not, I think the second one's the best. Although that's good for close combat as well. But
yeah, first one's pretty good too. Depending on how you're armed, it literally comes down to what you're doing, how you're armed. They're all pretty good.
Yeah, none of them are obvious bad choices. I do think the last one is overall seems to be the best. Again, assuming you don't put your Warlord in a shooting style unit, but your Warlord usually is pretty good in close combat.
Although in a shooting style unit, +4 movement is still.
But a lot of your weapons, if you're armed with a bolter, you move. That's a problem.
True.
A lot of the weapons you might want to might be a problem if you move. And I'm less worried about a shooting unit moving. They probably need to do it much, much less. All right. Well, you said you want to Krole.
Yes. All right. Jenetia Krole. Probably the biggest troll unit in the game.
Gotta stop hitting that microphone.
Oh, sorry. That was me. Yeah.
Keep hitting it constantly.
Probably the biggest troll unit in the game. 150 points. only 150 points actually. Movement 6, weapon skill 6, ballistic skill 5, strength and toughness 3, 3 wounds, initiative 5, 4 attacks, 10 leadership, and a nice 2+ save, which is really, really nice. So, she's got the Sword of Oblivion, which is a special weapon. We'll talk about that. She's got an Archaeotech pistol, which I think that's 3+ rend gun. Who cares? Frag, crack, and psych out grenades. So actually, I will pause, because that's another thing that they all pretty much have, these psych out grenades. So psych out grenades basically have something known as Psyshock. It's very, very easy to talk about because it only affects Psyker or demon unit types, which is basically if you suffer one or more unsaved wounds from this weapon, you suffer basically a Perils of the Warp once per phase. Also, you can't do reactions against the unit. So, but again, it only affects if you're specifically a Psyker or a demon unit.
Wait, okay, so I just want to make sure I have this straight. If I possess Psych Out grenades, you can't react against me. If you're a Psyker or a demon.
Yes.
Okay. Can the unit not? So in other words, can your Psyker not react, or can the unit your Psyker's in not react?
When a unit includes at least one model with the Psych Out grenade, and it makes a successful charge against it. Oh, sorry, I should have said in the charge. Apologies.
That's a really big difference.
Successful charge targeting a unit that includes one or more models with the Psyker unit or demon unit. No reactions may be declared.
Okay, so
on the charge, essentially.
Okay, so not essentially on the charge.
Yes, but
that makes a huge difference, because that was going to open up all kinds of questions there. Okay,
no, you're good. But it is, if there is a librarian in the unit of no librarians or then it does count. If the librarians in the unit,
that's fine. I have no problem with that, because that's simple. The way you explained it in the beginning, there was tons of rules questions that were about to start coming up. They stopped all of that.
Good.
Okay.
So that's Psych Out grenades, the Onyx Cloak, which is a very special thing, and then Artificer Armor, that's the 2+. She's also character. I should also point out, I do think, if I'm not mistaken, everyone is light, just like everyone is light, which someone's going to have to remind me what the hell light is.
I can do that super fast.
Very good.
Okay, so light is when you make a run move, you count your initiative as 1 higher, but if you do that, you don't get to claim cover saves.
Oh, okay. So, oh my God, wait. And she's fleet too. So technically she can, move 14? She can run 14.
Yes.
That's great. So she has fleet, she has scout, she has fearless, she has fear 1. She hates psychers, demons, corrupted, and traitor. She's an eternal warrior. That's amazing for toughness 3. Precision strikes 5 up, precision shots 5 up. Ex Oblivio, and I just had that page open. God damn it! Literally just had that.
One more
page
thing
open.
On light, you also can snap shoot after running.
Oh, neat! That I did not know. So I got Ex Oblivio, independent character, loyalist, and the Warlord trait is the soulless clean. So really quick, this is what makes her a troll character, and probably one of the favorite characters in this book. So, Ex Oblivio is very simple. At the start of the combat in any assault phase, but before the beginning of initiative step 10. So this is before Hammer of Wrath, but after challenges, essentially. So you know who's being challenged, you're putting base to base, or this is before Hammer of Wrath. The controlling player of the model with Ex Oblivio may declare its use. When you roll, use a d6. On a 1, you take basically a single wound, which no armor save, cover save, or invulnerable save may be taken. But you could still take a feel no pain. But you basically take a wound with only a feel of pain. On a 2 through 6, that enemy model must reduce its weapon skill to 1 for the remainder of the player turn.
And this is a one-time use?
No.
What the? Okay.
It's at the start of any combat in the assault phase. Yeah, no. Okay. Anytime she's based, it's only one model. It is only one model. But that one model, if it's in a challenge, like if you're in a challenge, you do the model, but it's got to be base to base, is now weapon skill 1 on a 2 through 6.
Okay.
Yeah. Sigismund, eat your heart out.
Well, hey, it's simple. You wouldn't accept the challenge. That's why you have a normal. That's why you have a normal person. Does he have? That's the issue. Okay, so you're right. Yeah. There's one case. Let's look at every other model. Every other model, just send a regular sergeant at it.
Essentially, that's what you do. So the Warlord trait, basically, if she's the Soulless Queen, if an enemy if an enemy army taking part of the battle includes any model with the Demon unit type or the Psyker or Corrupted unit type, Jenetia Krole and all units in the same detachment that include at least one model with a Sister Silent Hood X special rule, that's all of them, by the way, gain the preferred enemy Psyker, Demon, and Corrupted special rule for the duration of the battle. If there are no models with the Demon unit type or Psyker or Corrupted unit type in the enemy army, Jenetia Krole and any 3 units from the same detachment instead gain Infiltrate special rule. In addition, any army that has Jenetia Krole as the Warlord increases its reaction allotment by +1 in the assault phase, as long as you have not marooned as a casualty, and you may take 2 units from the Chamber of Oblivion as part of the same detachment as this Warlord. So essentially, this is kind of cool because I remember we talked about this with the Marine traits where they'll grant you special bonuses if you're fighting like a thing, but then it doesn't say what happens if you're not. This one's kind of cool because if you're fighting Psychers or Psychers, Corrupted, or
Demons.
Traitors or Demons, you get this bonus. But if not, hey, you still get a neat bonus. You still get 3 units with Infiltrate, which Oblivion does not have access to.
So that was a really strong addition because otherwise, currently, you're not going to face that very much. Psyker, maybe. But Corrupted, not so much of a thing overall. Demons, they don't have the rules yet. So it's having that Warlord trait without that would almost mean very, very often you have no Warlord trait.
Exactly. So I do like the fact that they included that. That's pretty damn cool. The Sword of Oblivion. Sword of Oblivion is a souped up Paragon Blade, in my opinion. It is Strength +2, so she's hitting at Strength 5. AP 1, for whatever reason there needs to be. 2-handed, melee, Murder Strike 5 up, Duelist Edge 1. So if she is in a challenge, she's striking at what? Weapon skill 7 at this point? Duelist Edge, correct? Or is that initiative 6? I always forget. Is Duelist Edge initiative or is it weapon skill? Lord have mercy.
Initiative.
I have forgotten. It is initiative. Oh, gosh. So she's an initiative.
Oh, it's initiative while in a challenge.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's pretty damn good. Murder Strike 5 up, AP 1 for whatever reason. So it's a pretty good sword. Oh, and then this. Okay. And fun fact, when we get to the, the Knight Silent Judge, which is the other HQ choice, I'll talk about why this is so ridiculous. So Onyx Cloak is a 4-up invulnerable save, which increases to a 3-up invulnerable save if you're hit with a template or a blast special weapon rule. That's kind of cool, right? 4-up to 3-up. In addition, whenever they're targeted by a shooting attack, the range between the attacking unit and Jenetia Krole is considered to be 6 inches further than the actual range between the 2 units. And enemy units with the night vision special rule or models with the Primarch unit type obviously ignore this. In addition, when attacked by a weapon with the Barrage special rule, you're basically treated as always out of line of sight. The reason I want to bring this up is that 6 inches further than the actual range. There is a lot of discussion, and no one has the right answer yet, so I'm going to point that out, whether or not this stacks with Alpha Legion. Because, as it stands right now, if you stick Jenetia Krole in a unit of, who have the Shroud Bombs? Head Seekers?
Nope. Maybe they do. I know the basic recon squad does.
Yeah, so you stick her in a unit of Shroud Bombs. You are now -2 for Alpha Legion, -6 for the Shroud Bombs, -6 for the Onyx Cloak. So you are technically 14 inches away. When we get later to another HQ, you can add another 12 inches to that. So you can effectively be 26 inches away. Always. But we'll talk about that when we get to that.
And I'm assuming the discussion is whether or not that's actually real.
Yes, whether it stacks or not.
Okay. I'm trying to pull it up right now. What is Alpha Legion's actual wording on their rule? Because this one is very particular with its wording. I think that's going to answer it for us.
So let's see. For me, I have to open up Reddit because that's where I saved the pictures of my Alpha Legion rules. Here we are. So the Alpha Legion rules are as follows. A model with a special rule is always considered to be 2 inches further away than it actually is when measuring range to it from an enemy model for the purposes of resolving a shooting attack, charge, or any reaction from enemy model or unit, blah, 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 blah.
All right. And her rule is that it's considered to be 6 inches further than it actually is.
Actual range.
So, to me, now, GW very may rule differently because they've done this in the past, considering to what I've thought rules would be. But off of the way the words are worded there, I would say no, they don't stack.
Because
you're 6 inches and the other one says you're 2 inches. Well, I'm already 6, so I've already accounted for that. If either of them, if her rule said additional, if her rule said anything else, but it sets you at 6 inches further, their rules, I'll set you at 2 inches further. I would lean for the moment, unless it said otherwise, that there's not stacking.
So the that's what I agreed with until someone pointed out that the counter argument would be then Shroud Bombs don't work then, using that argument. Because Shroud Bombs have you count as 6 inches further away than the actual unit. And with Shroud Bombs and Alpha Legion, it's 8 inches, not 6 inches. Because you add the two together.
Well, so we add the two together because something says so, or
it's just Shroud Bombs are also considered to be 6 inches further away than it actually is.
I understand that. So what I'm saying is both options have a little bit of an issue because we add it to Alpha Legion because we're like, it wouldn't make sense not to add it.
Yes.
So then we're using, it doesn't make sense not to do it there, so we should be doing it here. And to me, that's an issue in rules.
Yes.
By this rule, I would say no. But to me, if you're playing against this, I say have that discussion with your opponent.
Yes.
Talk about the fact that it isn't decided yet. Probably off of that, it's probably at some point going to be ruled that it stacks, but we don't know. They could change the wording very simply.
Yeah.
They've done that before. They could change the wording, and nothing else gets added in. We don't know. So,
but it's just a funny little interaction. And that's why when we talk about the Silent Judge later, she also has technically 2 versions of -6 inside her unit. So technically it's -12 because it gets added together. So if you add her, Jenetia Krole, Alpha Legion, and a Shroud Bomb, you're at -26 inches, which...
And here's the other weird part. So here shows you some of their issues with wording.
Yep.
They don't say her unit. They say her.
Exactly. And there is the counter to the counter argument. They say her, not her unit. But then someone goes, but you have to target the unit if targeting her because she's the independent character.
Yeah.
Which is super
to me, that's
weird.
the problem is wording. It needed a clarification in wording because while reading that, I thought it was so odd that they kept mentioning her specifically.
Yep.
They don't talk about the unit. They say but then later they say between the 2 units. Yeah, if you're targeting her, she's in a unit, but just it feels odd. So
yes. Needs clarification. Hilarious though in gameplay. Absolutely hilarious in gameplay. But yeah.
And now one big thing we're going to see with all these models is lack of models. So we'll get this out of the way now. In the official listing for GW, if you go on their website and all, you can find 2 listed units, the Prosecutors and Vigilators. However, it's the same kit. Yep. And it also makes, what's the third one it makes?
The Witch, oh crap, what are they called?
Witch something.
No, Witch Seekers is the 40k one. It's called the, hold on. Firebrands.
Firebrands. Okay.
Firebrands.
So that one kit is designed to make those 3. As we go through some of these options, as Dan has mentioned before we start recording, is a lot of these normal sister units are very similar in their loadout. So your elite unit might be the same as your troop unit that you buy and just do something to distinguish them for yourselves. Yep. But they don't... Did they ever put out any HQ models?
Just Jenetia Krole. There is no... so yes and no. So Jenetia Krole obviously is out. And
okay, she is. Good.
Yes. Technically, there is a Leia, which is the 40k version of a Knight Centura.
Okay.
That is just literally can be used as a Knight Centura in 30k. It's Valerian and Alea? Are they still sold as a couple? That's a good question.
Oh, yes. I do remember that. Yes, they were. Last time I checked, they were.
Yeah. So that's the other one. So technically, she is a Knight Centura. Armed exactly.
Krole is. She's out of stock right now, but yes. Okay, so they do have 30k wise an official model there, and then they have some other 40k models you can look at. Okay.
Yeah, you have this. It's Valerian and Alea, essentially. So you get 2 for the price of 1, which is nice.
All right. That's what I wasn't sure about. All right.
You good?
All right, very good. We should probably move on to some. They have a lot of HQs.
Yes. Okay. Because it's 1 for each chamber. There's a Praetor, and then 1. There's a Praetor, and then 1 for each chamber. That's why.
Got it. They have 6 options, so they got a couple extras.
Well, yes.
All right. Steve, do you have any in particular that you want to talk about?
I know none of this stuff, so I'll take whatever.
Do you want to take the Knight Abyssal?
Take the Knight Abyssal. It's a praetor.
Sure, I'll take a Knight Abyssal.
With worse stats. In certain ways.
Well, yes, in certain areas.
Yeah.
All right. So, Knight Abyssal, it's a 0-1 choice in your army, so you're only taking one. It's 85. She's 85 points. She has movement 6, weapon skill, and ballistic skill 6. So if you roll 1 on that hit, you could re-roll looking for a 6. She is strength 3, toughness 3, wounds 3, initiative 5, attacks 4, leadership 10, and a 2-up save. She's got an execution blade, a bolt pistol, frag and crack, psych out grenades, a void scale cloak, and artificer armor.
I got you.
What's the void scale cloak?
Does that just mean a 2-up save?
No, so a Void Scale Cloak is a 5-up invulnerable save,
Yeah.
but it increases it to a 3-up invulnerable save if you're hit with a template or a blast weapon.
So that's their big thing. They all seem to have a way to help themselves more against blasts and templates. Nice.
And the Execution Blade, which is one of my favorite weapons, actually. It's so stupid cool. But the Execution Blade is a two-handed... I'm trying to find it, though. Hello? Where are you at? Other way. Execution Blade is a two-handed, rending 6-up, AP3 plus 2 strength. And that doesn't change. Strength 5, AP3, murderous strike 6-up. Oh, sorry, rending 6-up, Jesus. Rending 6-up.
So it's a Space Marine power sword.
With
+1 strength.
With a +1 strength, yes.
Strength, yes.
Yeah.
Yep,
Okay,
that's
that's
essentially
cool.
what it is.
That's cool. Yeah. She's Chamber of Oblivion. That's important. Fleet 1, Fearless, Hatred, Precision Strikes, and Shots on a 5-up. She's ex-Oblivio, Loyals, and independent characters. A lot of the basic stuff. She basically got a little higher of a stat line in most things. Skill-wise, it seems. Yeah. Look at those weapons. She could swap out the Execution Blade for a power weapon for 5 points, which is a weird option because apparently
I wouldn't do that ever.
other units get to make that swap for free. Weird. She could take a charmable weapon for 5
do that
points. Paragon Blade for 10.
I'd probably still wouldn't.
You trade
lose strength.
Yeah, you lose strength, but you get murderous strike, which is
and AP2.
And AP2. Yes, true. You go from AP3 to AP2.
Maybe that one.
For 10 points is not bad. For 10 is not bad.
Not terrible. And then we have the Proteus Neurolash for 5.
Oh, yeah.
Now, what does that do? Because that sounds exciting.
The whip. I forgot about that stupid thing. So the Proteus Neurolash is strength +3, melee, two-handed, deflagrate.
Yeah, no, I'm taking that. That sounds like fun.
Get out of here with your nonsense. There is a unit that could take...
AP3 deflagrate?
No. +3 strength.
Okay, so strength 6.
Deflagrate.
Oh, there's no AP. Oh.
No AP. No AP.
Oh.
Yeah, you always thought AP3. Stop that. There's an entire unit that could take them. That's why. Which then becomes super funny. But
it still sounds like fun.
It is fun when you have all of them have it, but one person having it is meh.
That's fair. That is fair. Yeah, so those are the melee options, and then for ranged options, swap out the bolt pistol for a hand flamer for free. I probably would do that every single time. 3 hand flamers are the best kinds of hand flamers. You can take a needle pistol for 5 points, and then you can take a plasma or archaeotech for 10 points.
Needle
Archaeotech's
pistol,
a neat little choice.
Yeah, needle pistol isn't a bad idea because that can pin.
Can it?
Yes.
I never. Yeah.
Yeah,
I always forget
Archaeotech
about the
is
needle
rending
pistol.
on a 3, which means you're wounding the big guys on 3s.
No, agreed. In the Archaeotech pistol you take if you actually want to kill someone. The needle pistol, although one guy having a needle pistol doesn't help as much, but if you had option to a few.
I should point out, if you do kill with that needle pistol, that leadership, if you're close enough, that leadership is -1.
Yes.
Which is very nice. Really nice indeed. Really quick, I do want to point out to you and Dave that there are only 3 characters in the book that have Ex Oblivio as a rule. And that's Krole, the Abyssal, and the Centura.
Yes.
And the Centura is just basically the Centurion version of an Abyssal. But those are the only 3 with Ex Oblivio that can reduce someone to weapon skill 1. Just to point
that's
that
good.
out.
I mean, when you're a model that has a 3 toughness and a 3 strength, you need something.
You need the defensive stuff.
The other HQs do other things, but just wanted to point that out. That's their, because they're supposed to be the melee. These are the melee ones.
Yeah.
The Oblivion, if you will.
All right.
And then finally, for 10 points, make something mastercrafted.
Well, I do like that one. If you have 10 points under, just mastercraft something.
So if you go all out, tricking her to the nines, right? She's gonna be 110 points. Is that right? No, 105. 15.
105. What are you doing? Paragon Blade, Mastercrafted?
Yeah, Paragon Blade,
everything,
Architect,
everything.
Pistol. So plus
all
30.
the points. Yeah.
Yeah, so
115
at 30,
points gets you a tricked out HQ.
Which is not bad. 115 for that?
No.
Not a bad one.
Hey, I still always have a concern. Now, for the named lady, for Krole, she's Eternal Warrior, so her toughness 3 doesn't scare me as much. But if I'm starting to get to those points, I do start having concern that, Strength 6 is legitimate. If someone has, different, some different weapon options and all, they're gonna more easily be able to just remove your 3 wounds. Hell, if something has whatchamacallit? Why can't I think of it now? Volkite
Power
weapons.
Wall?
Power Mauls, yeah. In range, Volkite's going to start doing it. In close combat, yeah, Power Mauls. Or if someone just happens to be with a +2 strength sort of thing.
Yep.
So, I'm not saying it's a bad idea, but I do start getting worried about tacking points on when you can get doubled out a lot easier.
True, but 115 is not too bad of an HQ choice.
No.
And you do have
I've gotten sergeants almost up to that point sometimes because salamanders get to trick out a lot.
True.
But you do have the Knight Centura, Dave, which is what you're going to talk about, which is literally just weaker Knight Abyssal.
Yeah, what I want is even weaker. All right. Let's talk about the Centura. So, 85 points instead, so you're saving 30 points. You have the same move, obviously. You're losing a weapon skill and ballista skill. You're still at the strength, toughness, and wounds of all 3s. Your initiative is staying the same. You are losing an attack. So initiative 5, 3 attacks. Your leadership is 9 instead of the 10. And then going to a 2 plus save just as before. So you are losing in a couple key stat spots. You're not losing the initiative hit like normally a Praetor or Centurion would be. But
no, they both have initiative 5.
I thought the other
skill.
one was better. Okay, they might be with 5. It might be something I do then. Something. Okay. So otherwise your options for what you come base war gear is identical. You have your Executioner Blade, you have your Bolt Pistol, Frag Crack, Psych Out Grenades, your fancy cloak, your Artificer Armor. Chamber of Oblivion as well, has Fleet 1, Stubborn, going back and forth. So this one is Stubborn instead of Fearless. The same hatred that they all have. Precision strikes and shots on a 6-up instead of a 5-up. The Ex Oblivio, you're obviously a loyalist and an independent character, so you're losing a little bit all over the place. Otherwise, everything option-wise of what you can buy is exactly the same, except you lose the option for your Paragon Blade. That is no longer an option for you. And between the two, otherwise, everything else is the same cost. So the other model is a 0 to 1, so you may only include one of those. I guess if you want a few of these guys, it's not too bad, but I mean, they are very, very cheap. I guess that's the one upside to them, is you get something that's very cheap. And worst case scenario, if you're not getting hit with strength 6 things, you have multiple 2-up saves to help save the other models that maybe you're more concerned about because it's a long shooting unit or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not terribly impressed with it, but I guess for 55 points, you really can't complain. I'd probably just keep this super cheap. I'd probably want to put this somewhere else and have this be a wound soaker for a bit.
Little side fact, I've run allies in 2nd edition with the knight with a small Sister Silence contingent with the assault vehicle, because their transport is an assault vehicle, and we'll get to that in a moment. Is 300-ish points. About that's it.
That's a really cheap ally with a vehicle.
With an assault vehicle. So it's super cheap to bring them in. Yeah. For a lot of benefit too, because they are pretty great.
Yeah, in this case, At least on cursory glance, yeah, I would try to keep it cheap.
Yep.
I don't see any reason to change out the weapons. The only one we thought was a Paragon Blade, and this has no Paragon Blade option. So keep your Executioner Blade, get the
Yep.
Strength 5. Now you can actually hurt some things.
Yep.
And Ex Oblivio is going to help her survive a single round.
Yep.
Whether or not the whole unit stays is another issue entirely, but at least she'll survive one round.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Not too much
Oh,
there to say
boy.
about them because that's nice and simple.
The
All right.
next
So
one.
as we get to the next set of 3, of which all 3 of them are HQs, it's their other 3. Oh, God, they even have more.
They have a lot.
4 more HQ options. Wow. All right. They got a lot of HQ options.
Well, again, they're very similar. So I'll take the Silent Judge. Silent
Okay.
Judge is also 55 points. Exactly the same stat line as the Knight Centura. You might say, what's the difference? Well, instead of being melee-oriented, this is the shooting-oriented. So this is the Chamber of Judgment character. So instead of Execution Blade and Bolt Pistol, she's actually armed with 2 Bolt Pistols, Frag Grenades, Crack Grenades, Psych Out Grenades, a Distort Field, I'll talk about that in a second, the Excrucia Armatis, Artificier Armor, Spectre Cloak. Other than that, her rules are exactly the same. So, stubborn, fleet 1, precision strikes. Now her options change. She can take a power weapon, Charbroil Power Fist, right, for 20, a Neuro Lash for 5. She could take Hand Flamer, Needle Pistol, Plasma Pistol, Architect Pistol, but she can also take Flamers, Heavy Flamers, Vradine Grenade Launchers, and the Adrathic Destructor, and she may also take Compression Tanks. So let's kind of go through all these special rules real quick. So first of all, oh boy! All right, so I'll do the Spectra Distort Field because that's actually easier. So the Spectra Distort Field is basically whenever targeted by a shooting attack. Whenever targeted by a shooting attack. Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong thing. I apologize.
Yes, you are. It's just Distort Field.
Spectra Cloak.
Yeah, Spectra Cloak and Distort Field.
Distort Field.
Yes.
Which is weird because there's the Spectra Distort Field that the tank has, but whatever. Whenever targeted by a shooting attack, the range between an attacking unit and the unit including one or more models with the Spectra Cloak is considered to be 6 inches further than the actual range between the 2 units. And if you have Night Vision or a Primarch, it ignores this. And has the same rules essentially as the Krole Cloak, but it's 6 inches away. Okay. The Distort Field, whenever targeting a shooting attack, the range between an attacking unit and the unit including one or more models of the Distort Field is considered to be 6 inches further than the actual range between the 2 units. The only difference is the Distort Field also confers a 6-up invulnerable save against melee attacks and 5-up invulnerable save against shooting attacks. So this is where the problem comes in, Dave, that I was talking about before.
Yeah.
Because everything is worded exactly the same. And Alpha Legion players who have Shroud Bombs consider themselves to be 8 inches away because they have the 6 inches plus the 2. So technically, using that logic, if you take a Silent Judge with Krole in an Alpha Legion unit with Shroud Bombs, you are 26 inches away at all times in shooting.
Which just go in there and
well, no, you couldn't do all of that because you only get 1 HQ in Allied Detachment. And Alpha Legion has to be
you don't
primary.
Get 2?
No.
No.
Okay, let's say
Alpha Legion has to be primary for Imperial Army to be Swarm Brothers.
Okay, so minus, let's take Krole out. Krole is what, 6 inches? Was she 6?
Yeah, it'd be 14. Oh, if you're going to put the Shroud Bombs, I guess 20.
20 inches.
Yeah. Just don't do stupid things. It's that simple.
I just like the fact that they're 20 inches away from 4 inches. Like, bolters can only shoot when you're in 4-inch distance, which is actually kind of fluffy, but also hilarious. And there was one more, I think. Was it the Excrucia Armatis, I believe?
Yes.
All right, so the Excrucia Armatis, I have no idea what it is. I'll check for that later. Compression tanks, because this one I have in front of me, that's why. Compression tanks are very simple. You can use this once per battle, and anytime you're using a flame weapon, before any 2 hit rolls are made or you put down the template, it's +2 strength. And then you can't use the compression tanks again. That's all it is. And then Excrucia Armatis. Ah, yes. Any enemy unit may not declare a reaction to shooting attacks or charges made by a unit that includes one or more models with the Excrucia Armatis. However, enemy models that include one or more models with either the Fearless or Stubborn special rule ignore this effect. In addition, when you slay the enemy Warlord secondary objective, you gain an additional victory point.
Wait, when they are slain or when they slay someone?
No, when you slay the enemy warlord.
Okay.
I assume with that model.
If an army includes one or more models with the Acquisitor Honest, yeah, you're just hunting that dude's warlord.
Shit.
Yeah. So again, the idea is that the other one was melee combat, melee oriented. This is my shooting one. Yeah. We've talked about Adrathic Destructors before, so in case someone did forget what Adrathic Destructor is, it's
I forgot.
range 12, strength 5, AP 3, assault 1, instant death, armor bane ranged, gets hot. So poke at someone with AP 3, instant death. And then the Vratine grenade launcher, I believe.
Scary.
Yeah.
The Vratine. See, here's the problem. I see grenade launchers. The Vratine grenade. Yeah, no, that's a missile weapon. The problem is, there it is. Vratine grenade. There's a grenade launcher and a Vratine grenade launcher because of Solar Hawks. I think. Oh yes, here we are. This is. Okay, funny story about this, real quick. So the Vratine grenade launcher is a grenade launcher, 24-inch range. The frag is strength 3, AP 6, blast 3-inch pinning. So it's a normal grenade launcher. Crack is strength 5, AP 4, assault 1. But because you're Sister of Silence, you can shoot your Psych Out grenades, which gives Psy Shock. This is where you can basically shoot it at a demon, back in first edition, and cause that demon to do Perils of the Warp, which is just D3 automatic wounds. Now, I think they changed Psy Shock, the word. They probably changed it, which makes me really, really sad, by the way. But I think they changed Psy Shock to only be once per phase. You take a Perils of the Warp.
Because you could fire a whole unit and it would take a bunch of them, yeah.
What happened was someone took a 800 point greater demon. And I always used to take a Sister of Silence back in the day because they used to be part of the same unit. And I always took the grenade launchers because they were fun. And I shot a 5-man unit of grenades into them, and he took 5 Perils of the Warp and just killed it immediately. It was like a unit, the 100-point unit took out like 800 points of demon. Oh, yeah. It was just, I was like, oh no.
Check and make sure the Psy Shock doesn't work that way.
Yeah, I'm checking it right. I'm trying to find it.
Here it is.
Oh, you found it?
A unit that includes at least one model with the Psyker unit subtype or demon, and which suffers one or more unsaved wounds from a weapon with this special rule, also suffers a peril. Any given unit may only suffer. Yeah. Any unit may only suffer Perils of the Warp once per phase due to the fact of the special rule, regardless of how many enemy units
yes, they changed it.
That's a lot softer.
Oh, yeah, no. It was, you launch this at like a Thousand Suns player and watches the entire unit evaporates.
Yeah.
You mean the entire table goes upside down?
Yeah, pretty much. But still a cool grenade launcher.
Yeah.
But that's the Silent Judge.
To be fair, honestly, I would be tempted to go double Architect Pistol. Just because you could Dreadnought Hunt a little bit with it. Because 2 rending 3-up shots ain't no joke.
And remember, she is Precision Strike 6 up. So if you do hit those 6s, you could actually snipe like sergeants and stuff, which is pretty nice.
Also true. I mean, it's 75 points to do that, but it's an option.
Still 7. It's only 75. Who cares? 75 is nothing.
Well, that's why your mantra is max squads. But I'm not saying it's a bad idea. For the moment, I feel like I want to keep them somewhat cheap because I need a lot of them because they're going to be wounded super easy as an army in general, comparatively. But as we get into their units and we start seeing some prices, that gives us some more availabilities. All right.
Here's the first non-model.
The next one. Keep with the rotation.
Yeah.
Okay. So next up, we have the Silent Fury for 65 points. She is a casual movement 18. So I'm going to guess some sort of biker.
This is the jet bike. Yep, this is the jet bike.
Jet bike. There we go. Jet bike. So she's a jet bike. Very nice. Oh, I see it. Cavalry type. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So the rest of the stat line is the same, it seems. Weapon skill, blitzing skill 5. Strength, toughness, wounds 3, initiative 5, 3 attack, leadership 9, save 2 up. Yeah. Cavalry, character, light, skirmish, anathema. Yeah. She got a bolt pistol, close combat weapon, frag and crack, psych out, a distort field again, artificer armor, and the Arena's jet bike.
Just really quick. It's a jet bike. That's Cavalry Anti-Grav. You also gain the Shrouded 6-up rule if you move, or Shrouded 5-up if you run. That's all it is.
So the anti-grav, that would logically be there's just in the war gear, not in her?
Yeah, it's not in the unit, yeah.
Okay. And what did it say it had equipped to it?
You get 6-up Shrouded if you move, 5-up Shrouded if you run.
And it has a snare cannon.
I'll talk about we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. Get have it right now.
Oh, you want to? Okay.
Yeah, it's on the bike. Let's talk about it.
Okay. Another LOL weapon. The snare cannon. I'll talk about the snare gun because that comes up later too. Snare cannon is 18 inches. Snare gun is 12. Snare gun is strength 5. Snare cannon is strength 7. They're assault 3 and heavy 3 respectively, with the cannon being heavy 3. They are entangle. So entangle 1 and entangle 2, I should point out. So since this is a cannon, what entangle, the wonderful world of entangle, where the hell are you actually? Hold on.
I'm going to assume it's an initiative penalty.
No, it's a movement. I just wanted to read.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to read it to you, but of course, hold on. This is all the war gear. You got sometimes these books tend to be.
War gear rules are in one spot. Special rules are in a different.
I think special rules are over here. Give me a second.
Okay, so entangle.
There it is.
It does not roll to wound using normal rules. Instead, you roll to wound comparing the attack strength to the target's strength characteristic, using the strength characteristic in place of toughness on the to wound table. So I compare my strength to your strength instead of comparing it to your toughness. If any attacks with this special weapon inflict wounds, you do not make armor saves or damage mitigation rolls for those wounds. Instead, for each wound inflicted by an attack with a special rule, reduce the movement characteristic of all models in the target unit by the number in brackets that is included with the special rule to a minimum of 1 until the end of the controlling player's next turn. The wounds are then discarded. Essentially, you don't take wounds, you get slowed down.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a vehicle or Primarch, you can't be affected. Or any model that starts the battle with 6 or more wounds. So if you're big enough, it can't do anything to you. Just discard them if you would have to roll versus those. And if you can't have your movement affected in any way, then it can't do anything to you. That's what's the entangle number? Entangle what? Did you say
2.
3?
Entangle 2. Yep.
So every wound that goes through, quote unquote, goes through that you cause, they slow them down by 2 inches.
Yep.
That's so weird.
No, it's amazing. What are you talking about? That's so cool. So it shoots 3 shots, I should point out. So you could technically make someone -6 inches.
Yes. And you remember,
just
rolling versus their strength, and all you have to do is essentially score a wound.
Yep.
They don't roll to save, they just start losing their movement.
Yep. You're netting them.
Huh.
Yep. Enjoy your 1
I don't know if I love
Terminus.
it or hate it. Like, I can't decide whether it's the coolest or dumbest thing I've ever seen.
It is very cool. It is very long and wordy.
Tiresome as an opponent. Like, oh my god, I'm not moving again. Yeah. Okay.
Especially because base, otherwise you have a bolt pistol. I don't care about shooting that.
Yeah.
You just have to be careful because your toughness isn't better by being on this jet bike. So you have to be sure you're not shooting at a unit. You shoot at a unit is only going to combat and isn't going to reaction.
Yep.
It isn't going to like shoot you down.
It is funny to shoot the Terminators.
Some World Eaters just ruin their day.
Oh my god. -6 inches to a World Eater squad.
Now, that's movement characteristic, right? So let's say you shot it in Overwatch, it would not save you?
No, it would not. Because you don't add movement to your charge.
Yeah. Okay. So if they got close enough, then you're just done for. Okay. Interesting.
Though, technically, if you shot it in Overwatch, you could be changing their modifier.
Oh, that is true.
You could change that.
To get them down to movement 5, that's a -1, right?
So let's see. What's
2?
movement 1?
Oh, God. Now I got to pull out the chart. 1 to 4 is a -1.
Oh.
So essentially, the most you'll ever do is remove 1. I'm not saying that option is necessarily good, but if there's a super long charge, or even if there's some unit, like they're a jump pack unit, they're somewhat far and they were really banking on their giant pluses they're getting, maybe a +2 or even a +3. if I can knock them down, remove 3 or 4 from that roll, could be big.
Little side note, there are other units here that can take snare guns as well, or snare cannons. So this is not the only unit that can reduce movement.
But the gun was strength
7
4?
and 5. No.
7 and 5?
Cannon is 7 and the gun is 5.
The
and they're
cannon
both
I
3
like.
shots.
The gun I would be more meh about because it's you know, the average thing you're looking at strength is 4, let's say, because you're talking about Marines. Wounding on 2s or versus 3s. The 3s is nice, but then I might start getting to the point where I'm going to miss a few, and maybe I actually wanted to actually harm them because this weapon won't harm them.
But if they're free,
yeah, but they don't have firing protocol, so you got 1 shot. If you're going to swap out, at some point I want to make sure I kill. Just slowing you down won't kill you.
But it's still funny, so.
Yes, no, it is fun. All right. Any other thoughts on this particular jump bike?
Yeah, special rules. Fleet, stubborn, relentless, hatred, precision strikes and shots on a 6. Deep strike, outflank.
Go through that.
Yeah, no, we just got through the initial word here. We have everything else to go still.
Yeah.
That was a lot of... Okay. But yeah. Exchange the close combat weapon, which is a generic one, for a power weapon, charnable weapon, or Proteus Neurolash. It's 10-10-5 for the points costs. She could change out the bolt pistol for a hand flamer, which is much better in the Overwatch than that weird snare cannon would be in most cases. Needle pistol, plasma pistol, architect pistol options. The snare cannon can be replaced with a needle cannon or an Adrathic Destructor for 5 or 10 points, and you can upgrade 1 weapon to be mastercrafted.
So talk to us about the needle cannon, because the Adrathic Destructor we talked about. But what about the needle cannon?
Needle cannon. It's just a bigger needle gun. Needle cannon is 24 inches, strength 2, but heavy 4, poison 3 up, pinning.
That's for 5 points. So you knew better than I do, because it would take me a moment to find it. Can the other jet bike units swap out?
Yes.
Or is it just her? If they can swap out as well, I like that as an option.
Yes. That is why.
Okay.
They can't take...
Cool.
It's needle cannons for 5, Adrathic Destructors for 10 as well for them.
Yeah. I kind of like the idea of maybe they all have needle cannons. Maybe she still has...
She keeps the snare. That way you have all the debuffs.
Yeah, so that way one thing debuffs it, the other one actually throws some damage and maybe even pins. That way can actually hurt the models. And if you survive my pinning, if you're not pinned, then at least you are being slowed down. So you can't catch them. I like that as a loadout.
It's kind of neat. And just in case you didn't catch it earlier, this is a Judgment Chamber, so is there our second Judgment?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the 2 shooting ones were Judgment.
Now, I'm going to save your life, by the way, Dave, for the next unit.
No, you won't.
Not to cut you off. I don't know if I'm next or you're next.
It would be me.
I'm going to help you out. The Questora Cadre and the Raptora Cadre are essentially the same. The difference is that one is a Chamber of Judgment, so this is your shooting retinue. One is Chamber of Oblivion, which is your melee retinue. So so once you go over Questora, I'll go over Raptora, which takes 5 seconds.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to have some deep rule questions for you when we get through this unit.
Really? I'm surprised. All right, go ahead.
No, you won't.
Dave?
Afterwards.
All right, so the Questora Cadre, they're 65 points. So this is an HQ unit that is 3 models, which is just really weird to me. I like that idea. Personally, I like the idea of it's not just one thing.
That's because it's a retinue squad. It's a command squad.
Yes. Yeah, that is the other important thing. At the end, it does say it's a retinue. I do like the way they put that. Are you not able to take a retinue without taking someone they can attach to?
For now, it seems you can, because the
retinue depends on the unit.
No, the retinue rule is on the other side, and I already read it. It's the Questora Cadre may only be chosen as a retinue for a model with both the Sister Silent Chamber of Judgment and Independent Character Special Rules. The Questora Cadre does not use up a force organization slot and is considered...
The last part says they may not be select army without a leader.
You need to take them as a retinue.
Yes. I was just going to read the whole thing.
It's in the rule.
Some units for Space Marines say you may take this as a retinue. This one is, they are a retinue.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to take it, yeah.
That's what I thought. I saw that and I looked in, okay. So they have Valentine Bolters. I'll go through their stats in one second. Well, actually, I mentioned the Veritine Bolter, and I'll go back to stats. So what's the Veritine Bolter?
The Veritine Bolter. Veritine Bolter is strength 4, AP 5, rapid fire 18 inches, Psy Shock.
Okay, so shorter bolter, but has Psy Shock.
Yeah.
Okay. So they're move 6, their weapon skill 5, ballistic skill 4, so they've a little lower than some of the other HQ choices. They are, of course, strength and toughness 3, 2 wounds a model, initiative 4. They all have 2 attacks, 8 leadership, and a 3-up save. They said these ones are the judgment. They have the frag, crack, psych out grenades, the Veritine armor, and the Spectra cloak. I think
that's the minus 6 inches.
Yes, but did we talk about the Veritine armor yet? Or no, everyone else has been a 2-up save so far.
Oh, actually, we haven't. Veritine armor.
Yeah. No, we
apologies.
haven't yet. That's okay.
Veritine armor is just 3-up armor save. That's all it is.
Okay, so it's just because they don't give that. It's not, okay.
Yeah, it's literally just a 3-up armor save.
That's right. Yeah, I guess because it's not technically power armor, they want to give it
exactly.
Name. All right. Of course, they are light, lion, anathema, as all these units have been. They are judgment, as they said. They're fleet 1, stubborn. They have precision shots on a 6-up. They have the normal hatred. These ones are chosen warriors, but that makes sense. That's somewhat common for retinue or retinue-like units. They're a support squad. They're loyalist, and they're the retinue. So them being a support squad, that also gives you the requirement that you can't take them as the compulsory.
Yes.
They have 2 different ways.
Which is weird. They are lying.
Yes,
Yeah, which is super weird.
Well,
in my
what's
opinion.
nice about that is it makes... Well, let's think about it. A lot of times in retinue squads, not all of them, but a lot of retinue squads have an option of swapping, usually for 10 or 15 points, sometimes free, but 10 or 15 points, getting a banner and a different weapon, which would make you count as line.
The Legion standard does give you line, so it does make sense.
Yeah, so these guys are essentially just getting it without having to swap out and say that they grab a Legion standard. So you can take up to 6 more of them. They're 20 points each. You can take augury scanners, nuncio voxes, normal points costs. They can exchange the bolters for 2 bolt pistols for nothing, an assault needler for 5 points each, flamers or power weapons. Any model can get rid of the bolt pistol that it has instead for hand flamer, needle pistol, plasma pistol. So you could, no, assault needler. The other ones aren't pistols, so now unfortunately can't dual wield other than 2 bolt pistols.
No.
Which other option?
A bolt pistol.
Yeah.
And if you exchange a bolt pistol for one of the following. Yeah, no, because you get 2 bolt pistols, and you exchange each for a plasma pistol.
Any model may exchange a bolt pistol.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it says each.
Yeah,
10 points each. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No, so you can do that. I kind of like that. I want to put the plasma pistols on. That's a terrible idea, but maybe the hand flamers or needle pistols. That'd be hilarious. Yeah. Now noticing the way they talk about that. Up to 2 of them can swap out for heavy flamers, nemesis bolters, autostatic destructors, or snare guns. I wouldn't do the snare guns. Or get those compression tanks, which actually wouldn't be bad. Not bad with your flamers, but now you might be starting to get to some real points because you're talking about 15 extra points a person.
Yeah.
I'd rather get more models. And they are retinue. They have standard retinue rules in every way, and it just says at the end that they can't be taken unless there's a leader.
Yep.
So their support, so they don't fulfill your required HQ slot, and as this retinue, they have to have someone for that unit. And there's no problem with mixing chambers in a unit, right?
No, you could take multiple. Wait. This one specifically says you can only. Just because of
because this one says Chamber of Judgment. Yep.
Specifically, yes.
Okay, but
and
normally that's not a problem.
They do not count towards your limited number of units per chamber.
Yes, because they're the same slot as the leader, so they're not taking up one of those.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah.
Overall, I like it. It's a thing because they kind of hide the fact that if you're just looking at the first page, how it is essentially a retinue squad. Because at first it's like, ooh, cool, 3-person HQ. Oh no, it's just a retinue, but it's kind of nice, and you can keep it somewhat cheap because it's a nice small retinue.
Exactly.
Where a lot of these other retinues are very expensive.
I'm just going to assume that they don't count as a separate choice for unlocking units.
No,
because that would be stupid.
No.
Okay.
No, I would say no.
I'm going to do the Knight Vestal Covenant as well because Raptora Cadre literally takes 5 seconds to talk about. It's 95 points, exactly the same stat line, 3-unit composition. Their war gear is exactly the same, but instead they get Bolt Pistol, Execution Blade, and a Void Sheen Cloak. So they're armed like the Oblivion Knight. Instead of precision strikes or shots, they get precision strikes. They're still line, still retinue, still chosen warriors, and they have melee options. So you take 6 additional Raptor for 25 each, Augury Nuncio, Hand Flamer, Needle Pistol, Plasma Pistol. They can get a Power Fist for 15 or a Neuro Lash for 10.
Yeah, they're the close combat form of it.
Exactly. And now we get to our first elite. The worst written elite ever in all the books combined. This has to get
that's
FAQ.
A bold statement there.
No, you wait till I get to the. So there's a box. Try not to read it, Dave. Yet there's a box at the bottom.
Right.
Don't read it yet. I promise. So, the Knight Vestal Covenant is a 35-point model. Very cheap.
0 to 1 for the option 2.
0 to 1. We'll get to why that is weird in a second. Okay. That's not the weird part. They're character light anathema. They're movement 6, weapon skill 5, ballistic skill 5, strength and toughness 3, 2 wounds, initiative 5, 2 attack, leadership 9, 2 up save. They're armed with 2 bolt pistols, frag, crack, psych out grenades, a Narthecium, and Vran armor. So they are the apothecaries essentially.
Got it.
They are
since they're Vestal.
Yep. They're the Vigilant Covenant, which we'll talk about in a second. You can give them power weapons. You can take 2 additional Knight Vestals for 35 points each. Right, so you can make a unit of them. Needle Pistol, Archaeotech Pistol. Now, this is where the worst written rule in the world works. Dave, when you take apothecaries and you take them in units, there's the apothecary rule, where essentially you break them up before the game begins and you place them into squads, correct? Very easy, right?
Yeah.
That's how apothecaries
work,
I've always done. Very good. Vigilant Covenant. When deployed onto the battlefield, either at the start of the battle or when arriving from reserve, all models with a special role in a unit must be placed within unit coherency, but afterwards operate independently and are not treated as a unit.
Well, they are independent characters at least, so they're allowed to go join other units, but they have to start together.
Yes.
Which also means turn 1, if you're going second, your opponent could theoretically just shoot them off the board.
Yep.
Yes, absolutely it could. That's so dumb.
Yes. It is the...
Okay, it's not that... when you said worded poorly, I thought because I'm going to lead this rule, I don't understand, I'm going to stand it. I understand it, I just hate it.
Yeah, sorry. When I say poorly worded, I mean...
This is cursed game design. This is
it's very well worded. There's no issue with the wording because we can't. There's no way to get around how dumb it is.
No, it's so.
They have to start as a little tiny unit themselves.
GW. Literally, all you have to do is copy and paste the apothecary rules. Like literally, that's literally all you have to do.
But the fact that this tells me one of 2 things. Either one, it was very intentional for reasons I don't personally know.
I think I know, but I'll let you finish.
Okay, or this was the way the apothecary rule was originally worded. And then someone changed it because they realized that that's just not a good idea.
So maybe they did this so that you didn't take 35, 35, and 35 is 105, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Maybe you don't spend 105 points spending it on the 3 cheapest apothecaries known to mankind for your loyalist Space Marine forces.
So it's a 20-point discount.
Yeah.
Yep.
You get another wound, but you lose toughness.
Which is
big, and you path out Feel No Pain. So if you take all 3, that's a 60-point discount for an extra wound, and who cares?
But here's the problem. Because it's an independent character, they could join their.
They're not independent characters.
Yes, they are. They're independent characters. It's under special rules.
Oh yes, sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
They could join that list of legions. The Ultramarine, Sons of Horus.
Yeah. They're amazing. They're the cheapest apothecary known to mankind. The problem is taking more than one is actively disallowed.
Exceptionally stupid. See, if it was apothecary special rule, you wouldn't have joining legion squads and helping them. Because they're independent characters, they can 100% join a legion and hand out Feel No Pain.
Well, actually, so here's the thing. Actually, one other thing, distinction, and maybe this helps. The apothecary rule essentially states that you have to go to separate units. There's nothing here. They have to be placed within unit coherency. It doesn't say they have to be in their own separate unit. So
Very true.
couldn't I put all 3 into one unit and then split them afterwards? In
Technically,
other words, I put them with a unit of some other sisters.
yep.
So at
Now,
least
start the
they're
battle.
harder. Yeah, well, so at least they're harder necessarily to destroy because since they're independent character, they can join a unit. They just have to stay within unit coherency.
And then you split them off. It is still effectively stupid. Listen,
Oh, it's
still
dumb, but there's some workaround with it. They're not gonna like they don't have to hang out by themselves in the corner. You can do some things with them. And here's the other thought. Coherency is just 2 inches in the game, right?
Yes, most of the time.
Okay.
Yes.
So here's my question then. Could I have them in 2 different units where they're close enough to one another? Let's say I take 2 of them.
But
and I
not
put 2
if those
units near
have
each other.
transports. Because you have to start in your transport. You have a transport.
True, yeah. You wouldn't be able to take a transport. Okay. It's still stupid. They should just have the apothecary rule. But you do have some options. You have some ways not to just get them utterly destroyed. I wouldn't take 3. I would maybe take 2 and make a workaround. Because also a 2-up save is pretty nice. Yeah, their toughness is worse, but the 2-up save is pretty good.
Also, that's the other weird
skilled.
part, by the way. Fun fact.
Yeah.
We don't know if it's a misprint or not because they're armed with
Oh, God,
armor.
the Veritine armor. What? Oh, God, yeah.
I was just going to
notice that.
I was just going to... That was the second thing I was going to point out, but I'm so glad you mentioned it. There's the second... So, again, this unit, really cool. Apothecary Sisters, awesome. What the hell?
No, they're a 3-up save. There's no way it meant to be a 2-up because I believe the war gear more than I believe the save.
Yes.
Because the war gear is a button press. Sorry. The save is a button press to hit. The war gear, you actually have to type it in. Oh, man. I was like, oh, maybe that's worthwhile. No, they're going to be a 3-up. There needs to be an FAQ and change some stuff.
Fun fact, I have no idea. But they're a good unit. So, side note, excellent unit, but the dumbest written unit I've ever seen in a very long time.
This
is probably worse. This is probably worse than the Turbo Lasers being weaker in Mechanicum than they were in Space Marines. Like this is up there levels dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a shame because you want apothecaries because you're going to be wounded more easily. Now again, there's still that problem of strength 6 or better. You're just not getting it, but they're 35 points. They're cheaper, so it still works out well.
Oh yeah. And
they're definitely a 3-up save. Don't be fooled. I believe the armor. Oh man. All right.
The good news is the next 2 units are exactly the same, Dave. The only difference is one is shooting. There's almost a theme here, isn't there?
Yes. and the other big part of that theme is that the close combat is always more.
Yep.
Close combat's more expensive. Steve, do you want to take the Oblivion Knights?
Sure. So we got Oblivion Knights. They are move 6, weapon skill 5, ballistic skill 4, strength toughness 3. Only 1 wound apiece. This is the first 1 wound model we've had so far in this army.
Yeah.
Initiative 4, 2 attacks. Leadership 8, 9 on the sergeant, and a 3-up save. Or rather, the mistress. 100 points, 5-man unit. You have 4 knights and a mistress. They are armed with execution blades, bolt pistols, void sheen cloaks, frag and crack grenades, and are Vratine armor. Same unit types as always. The unit leader is a character, and no one was surprised. They are Chamber of Oblivion, Precision Strike 6 up, Fleet, Stubborn, Loyalist, Hatred, Psychers, Demons, Corrupted. Cool. They could take an Acquisitor. You could add up to 5 extra models for 15 points apiece. So for other 75 points, 175, you get the full 10-man unit, or 10-woman unit, rather. Yeah. You could exchange the execution blades for free power weapons instead of paying extra points like the characters had to for whatever reason. Free chartable weapons or free Proteus Neural Lashes. Basically, it's free. And finally, the unit leader may take a hand flamer, needle pistol, or plasma pistol for 5, 5, or 10 points. So we lose the free hand flamer, but gain the free power weapons.
Yeah.
The power weapons for free, you might actually swap some of those out if you maybe
like
too.
The power maul is nice.
So tactics time.
Oh no.
People
power
like
maul's worse.
Yeah, I was gonna say people like switching it for the power axe, which
Yeah, I can see
gives
that.
them the
Get the
AP2, but brings them to strength
Strength
4, but
4.
also makes them unwieldy. Which
I wouldn't exchange many. In a unit of 5, I would
Yeah.
do 1 to 2. Because
Yeah.
It's the
82
entire
is
unit.
going to be a problem.
But it's the
no,
entire
it's the
unit.
entire unit.
Oh,
Has to be everyone.
no.
Yeah, no, it's the
I
entire
didn't notice
unit.
it was entire. No, I don't like
no,
that.
no,
though.
I'm sorry, apologies. Yeah. Some people
Oh,
argue
well.
for the power axe, and sure, having an entire power axe unit is cool and all.
All right, well, no.
They'll
Stop.
have 3 attacks each, 4 on the charge.
Yeah.
They pick their target on a 6 to hit. There is an argument for it.
There is.
There absolutely is
I'll be
arguments
honest. But
I'd
don't-
rather have the strength 5 and
I'd rather have the strength
hope I
5
get the
and with
rends
the
that I
rend.
need.
Yep, that's
So
I'd
So
rather
here's a question,
force more saves than lose my entire unit before I swing. Because at initiative, AP3 is easy to find. And they
Do
don't
they
have
all-
the Artificer upgrade. So they don't
Do
can't even
they-
tank with the Sergeant.
do they all have to go to the same power weapon?
I assume so.
That-
We
no
don't know.
idea. But I'm going to say yes. But the entire unit makes change direction for power weapons. Actually, no. I'm going to say no because
On the
Yes.
wording, I would say no. Now, again,
Yeah.
this could be intention or not. I don't know. But
Thematically,
my
I'm
wording-
going to guess you're going to FAQ it to yes.
yes,
Has to be the same.
but
they haven't even FAQ'd the Vestal
I know. But
having
if you
her
look
armor,
at, if
so
you
I don't
look
know if
at,
they'll
if
get
you
to it.
if you look at the templating, if everyone has to take a Neuro Lash and you can't like mix between power weapons, charm weapons, and Neuro Lashes, I'm gonna guess that when you say yes, I'm gonna take power weapons, it has to be the same.
I think you're probably right, but I think just to give them a little bit of to give them a reason to swap from their execution blades, I could see a very strong argument if you let me pick and choose, because I take a couple axes, I take a couple mauls to get back that strength. I maybe a lance to go early or something like that. I could do that, but to switch all of them, no. Take the execution blade.
it is weapon skill
Although-
5 though, which is nice. That's still,
Yes.
That's really nice.
Although what I
Yeah.
will say is what I've noticed so far, and maybe maybe it'll be a little different as we kind of make our way through here. I haven't seen a lot of sort of AP2, like, or getting through armor 2 updates.
Wait a second.
We'll probably get there.
Yeah, I
But
was
so
gonna say-
far, I could see an argument for the power axes because maybe you realize you need something to get through your 2-up saves, and maybe this is a good spot for you to do that.
Okay, power weapons gets another attack though because the execution blades are 2-handed.
Or yeah, they're two handed, so you
Yeah,
do get an extra
okay.
attack with the power weapons.
So there is that argument. Because
Like
you
I
have the
said,
bolt
it's-
pistol
it's-
native.
listen,
There's something. There.
I just don't like attacking at initiative 1 with hell. Even with my custodians, I very rarely, unless I have an eternal warrior, give them a fist because I'm so petrified of someone coming in with a paragon blade or someone coming in with AP2 and just going all over the unit. You know what I mean?
Well, I think when you're talking about this unit, because you are talking about something that's probably a little bit cheaper than some of the units that
Yeah.
might be trying to fight against, you pick and choose your battles as best you can. Where
Very
I would
true.
send this with power, with axes, is to your Terminator squad that's mostly loaded down with initiative 1 things, because that's what
yeah.
most Terminators are. There,
And
I'm
it's
happy.
Yeah. And they're in an assault vehicle. So the Terminators are out and about. You will be assaulting that Terminator unit.
Yeah. I'm not saying I would switch all of them. Like, if I was taking 2 of these units, I could absolutely see the argument to put 1 with power axes, so that way I can do that. Or maybe even technically, the problem is their strength. I'd say because the lance isn't bad for hitting faster than a lot of things than the average unit, but your strength's going to come into play. But your weapon skill is
You
better than
need
the average
4 sisters to kill 1 cataphracti on average. Because you're going to get 3 attacks each. That's going to be 2 hits.
Yeah.
Because you're hitting on 3s. Right? So we've got 2 hits. Strength 4. Wounding on 4s. So that's 1 wound. And then they have a 4-up invul. So that's half a wound.
Yeah.
Per sister
Yeah.
with the power axe.
Okay.
Yes. On
2
average,
wounds
you will
on a
need quite a few.
Terminator. Yeah.
But against the
That's
standard
rough.
cataphracti, they're not going to hurt you quite as bad because your weapon skill is going to be better.
Fun side fact, by the
You're
way.
hitting on
for those-
3s, so
Fun side fact for salty measure. This unit and also the troop unit, which is similar, just less elite, have bolt pistols with execution blades. In 40K, they forgot how to use bolt pistols because none of the melee units have bolt pistols for the sisters. Little
To be fair,
side
in
fu-
40k, there's not even a pistol holster on the model. So
Really?
I can forgive them. Yeah.
Hold on.
You've built these models.
Yeah, hold on. Now I'm trying to think. Hold on. Stop that. Hold
All
on.
right, you think I'll talk about the Eradicators while you think.
Yeah, go ahead. Talk about. No, I don't think there is Eradicator.
All right. So we'll switch to the other unit that, again, it's very similar to what they do. So these are 65 points. So you are getting, in this case, a 35-point savings. Stat-wise, I'm just going to quick back and forth. Yeah, you're looking at identical stats, except their weapon skill is a 4 instead of a 5. But this is the shoot, a bit
And
more
the
of a shooting
one.
weapon. Yep, and sorry,
And
less
they have
attacks.
one less leadership.
One less leadership.
Do they actually have less? Oh yeah,
they're just worse.
Okay, they're just worse in every way. All right. You get unit of 5. They, of course, have the light anathema, all of that. They have the Valentine bolters, frag and crack grenades, and their armor, which gives them a 3-up. Their chamber of vigilance. So these ones, unlike the other ones, the last one who were Oblivion, so they might be more restricted. These ones are vigilance. Remember, vigilance, you are not restricted how many take. Take as many as you like. They are stubborn, which is very good when your leadership is 7/8. They have the normal suite of hatreds, they're loyalists, and precision shots on a 6. They also can take the Acquisitor dedicated if they want. They are 10 points for each additional, up to 5 more. So 50 more points, 115, you can have a full squad. Any model in the unit may exchange their bolter for minor or magna combi weapons. So you can start varying that up.
Spicy.
I always kind of prefer the minor than the magna, because the magnas are all 1 shot each.
But I think minor, you could take a Meltagun. I can't remember.
No, Melta's magna.
Melta.
So minor, just to cover it super fast, is the flamer, the Volkite, and the grenade launcher.
Yep.
The magna is the plasma and the Melta.
Yep. You can take Augury Scanner, Nunzio Vox as well, those compression tanks, if you happen to be taking anything with fire. And the Mistress, so the character model, can take a power weapon for 10, charnable weapon for 10, hand flamer, needle pistol, both of those are 5, or a plasma pistol for 10.
The Volkite could be fun, maybe.
If I was doing these, I would do them with the Volkite, because I don't like it otherwise.
I will point out, if you give him Melta,
look for those precision shots.
I was saying, if you give him Melta, remember, you get the extra victory point if you kill the...
True. And you're 1 shot per game Melta guns.
1 shot, need a 6 to hit.
Ever.
That's...
I would never take the Melta.
That's bad math.
You're literally doubling the cost of the unit to shoot Melta guns once. What happens if you roll poor and only like 1 hit, 2 hit? You've wasted it. Yeah, that would be my problem. I think the key so far from what I've seen is you want to keep them cheap. I would want this squad to be cheap. Unfortunately, they don't score for you otherwise. They're your elite. I guess since they're not limited because they're Chamber of Vigilance, they work nicely because you can get some more bodies on the board, and I think you need bodies. Yeah. I would probably do it with the miners. Like I said, take the Volkite. Now you have... Now you might be able to get some damage down on someone.
I forget. Are green ultras pinning with the frag rounds? I want to say no.
I don't believe
if they were, that'd be cool.
What, Valentine bolters?
No, normal grenade launchers.
I have... Oh, shit. I had that up 5 seconds. Oh, God. Hold on. Because I was looking at that, because I was looking at the difference between Valentine grenade launchers and normal grenade launchers. Grenade launcher is frag and crack. It is pinning. It is pinning. Strength
even from the minor combi though.
Oh,
because it's minor combi. That's usually listed separately because it might sometimes they're combi
weapons. Combi weapons. Here we are.
Yeah,
it is. Still pinning. Assault 1, blast 3 pinning.
Last 3 pinning.
Although, fun fact, you get the Psy Shock as well. So you get access to the Psy Shock grenade launcher.
Oh, they're minor combi.
Yes.
There's
a little star. There's a little star and says these options are only available to models with the Sister of Silence faction. So you get frag, strength 3, AP6, blast pinning, crack, strength 5, AP4, assault 1, psych out, strength 4, assault 1, blast 3, Psy Shock. So
you also get the snare gun as a minor.
You also get that's right. You could get the snare gun as a minor.
A snare combi gun. That could actually be interesting.
Actually, yeah, I kind of like that option because then you could. It's still combi, so you could shoot at someone if you need to. Otherwise,
But you get
you
both.
can be slowing the units
Remember,
down for your other
you
units.
still get to use the bolter at the same time.
Yes. That's the other, actually, yeah, that's the other key you do. But actually, I kind of like that.
That one's kind of cool.
Because it's still cheap.
So I like the grenade launcher only because it gives me options. I could do blasts, I can do a strength 5 shot, or I can do side shock. And side shock, giving someone Perils of the Warp is very funny.
To me, it feels like it depends on exactly what you want this unit to do.
Exactly.
If you're trying to damage someone, yeah, I would take the grenades. If I'm trying to use them for a little more utility to make sure I get what I need, knowing that I'm a squishier army in general, then I kind of like them with the snares, because then I can slow down your assault units. I'm not worried about the bolter hits. Maybe I kill a guy, but so be it if I don't. But I can slow down your assaulting units to give time for my own units, or give time at least to whittle you down. And I'm keeping my unit reasonably cheap. They're not lined, so I don't feel like they're getting thrown away if they die. And if they die pretty early, as long as they're able to slow a unit or two down, I feel that they've gotten their points.
A little fun fact, by the way, I know we keep talking about the snare guns. That's not an actual model yet, but people have found that you use the Gene Stealer Colts. I think they're also called snare guns, funny enough. The Gene Stealer Colts have the web guns. Yeah, web guns work perfectly well on Sisters. So if you could find bits of web guns, which everyone should have because no one used them in Gene Stealer Colts, you could probably find them for super cheap online. Web guns work perfectly well. Like, they literally look like snare guns.
All right. Well, switching to units that actually have models that are officially listed, because this is one of the official listings. Dan, why don't you tell us about the first troops choice here, the Persecutors?
Yes, very easy. And again, very similar to the theme. Prosecutors and Vigilators are very similar. One's shooting, one's not. So Prosecutors are your shooting, 65 points. Normal stat line. So movement 6, weapon skill 4, ballistic skill 4, strength and toughness 3, 1 wound, 1 attack, 2 attack for the sergeant. Initiative 4, leadership 7, 8, 3 plus save. You get 5 of them. You can get an additional 10 for 10 points each, which brings it to 15, which is the most annoying number in the world. It is a line unit, obviously, because this is a troop. It's also, light. This is Chamber of Vigilance, so you can take as many of these as you want. They're armed with a bolter, frag, and crack. That's literally it. They are bolter sisters for super cheap. You could technically exchange their bolt guns for 2 bolt pistols.
They don't even have the psych out grenades.
No, they do not.
No, the general units that we've gotten into lately don't.
So they can replace or exchange their bolt guns for 2 bolt pistols for free. Assault Needler for 5 points each, which has to be the entire unit, I should point out. Up to 2 models may take a snare gun. Spicy, and that's free, by the way. So you could technically -2 someone, which is great. And the Mistress takes the normal kind of melee weapons: power weapon, Chenarbal weapons, hand flamer, needle pistol, plasma pistol. And you could take a Nuncio Box and an Augury Scanner. So very cheap troop unit. That's essentially what these are. Cheap bolter units. There's really nothing more to say about them. They're very...
If you go dual pistol, you can charge and lose every fight.
Yes, exactly.
But the big thing is they're nice and cheap. The stat wise, because their strength you don't care about as much unless you get into close combat. Their toughness is the big thing, but they're cheap at least.
Yeah, they're a cheap line unit that holds back objectives. That's essentially what they are. Yeah,
try to keep them out of line of sight, and stubborn, which helps.
Yeah,
stubborn is nice on these.
I mean, Vigilator Cadre. Someone else could take. I wanted to take the tank, but yeah, take Vigilator Cadre because it's exactly the same.
All right, Steve, do you want to talk about these things that are exactly the same? That'd be fast.
So for 65 points, you get movement 6, weapon skill 4, ballistic skill 4. It's the same exact stat.
Yep, same stat line. Yep,
same
4s and then 3s, 1 wound, 4 initiative, 1 attack. Same stat line. 65 points, same. You get 5 models, but instead of having a bolter, you get an execution blade and a bolt pistol. Everything else, once again, it's the same. It's the same.
Yeah.
Except these are a Chamber of Oblivion in the troop
So they're limited.
Ooh. So what do we get? We could swap out the bolt pistols for hand flamers for 5 points a model, or needle pistols for 5 points a model. The extra 10 models we could add, they're going to cost 12 points each instead of 10 points each. You get a worse, expansion price. which arguably makes you a better new unit cost. I don't know. I don't know how the logic of that works, but whatever. You can take compression tanks because you got hand flamer options. The unit leader can take a plasma pistol and can swap out the execution blade for a power weapon for free. Power fist for 10 points, which you should never do because strength 6 is not worth initiative 1.
No.
And Proteus Neurolash for 5 points.
Dan, did you say the compression tank that helps with flame weapons?
Yes.
Oh, they do have hand flamers. Okay. I didn't see the hand flamer first. I was like, why do they have it? Oh, hand flamer. Yeah, don't do that.
Don't do that.
No.
Cheap. This is so cheap objective taking unit.
Yeah. Yeah, they rush in and kill you.
Because they have swords.
Yes.
That's it.
I mean, honestly, if you noticed, all their dedicated transports are exactly the same. It's the Kharon pattern Aquisitor, which is the next unit we'll talk about, which is one of my favorite tanks of all time, look-wise and rules-wise. But there's a reason why you want them up front. They're not walking up the board, essentially.
No, they're not going to survive.
No.
All right, why don't you talk about the Acquisitor?
Kharon pattern Acquisitors. This is actually how they take Psychers. For those who have never seen the model, this is I call the Dune Worm because the front of it opens like a Dune Worm mouth, which is awesome. But if you notice on the side, there's like these weird doors. That's where they shove Psychers. They have Iron Maidens? Is that what we're called? They have Iron Maiden coffins for Psychers on the side of their vehicle, which is hilarious. So, it is a movement 16 skimmer, essentially. Ballistic skill 4, front 13, side 12, rear 11, 4 hull points, 16 transport capacity. So it is a chunky vehicle. In reality, it's also a chunky vehicle. If you buy this model, I think it's maybe 3 pieces. I think it's 4. No, it's 3. It's the body, the nose, and like 2 fins. So 4. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, no, that whole body you see, excluding the nose, is one solid piece of resin. You can put it in a sock and kill someone. It's like the old metal dreads. It is a transport anti-grav and fast. It has a hull front-mounted Hellion heavy cannon array. Ooh. And
what's 2.
Well, let me read all the weapons. 2 hull-mounted Vratine missile launchers, a Spectra distort shield, and a smoke launcher. It is a sister Silent Hood, and it takes the same chamber militant as the unit that's inside of it. So you get the same rules. If your unit gets scout, then it gets scout. Yay! It also has outflank, deep strike, night vision. It's an assault vehicle, and you can also trade the hull-mounted twin-linked. You trade the Hellion heavy cannon for a hull-mounted twin-linked multi-melta. So. Let's go over the war gear first. The Spectra Distort Field. This is the one I confused, by the way, for the Spectra's cloaks and the Distort Field. So basically, whenever targeted by a shooting attack, the range between the attacking unit and this vehicle is an extra 8 inches further away from the 2 units, unless you have night vision or a Primarch. Also, if there's a barrage weapon, you always count as out of line of sight. So basically, you're shooting it at -8 inches, which is pretty neat, actually. It's really
good for Melta type weapons.
Yeah. But even like missile launchers, or not missile, anything, what are they, 48 inches? Missiles might not work. But anyway, -8 inches is nice. The weapons, though, are very interesting. So let's see what pops up first. I think it's funny enough the bolt weapons that pop up first. Because of, let's see here. Bolt weapons. No, it actually, oh my God. Lord have mercy.
Are you having more trouble?
Always troubles with these weapons. Always. Multi-Melta I'm not going to talk about because multi-Melta be multi-Melta.
Yeah, it's a multi.
All right, so yeah, exactly. So a Vratine missile launcher has frag, crack, and psych out missiles. The frag is 48, 4, 6, heavy 1, blast 3, pinning. The crack is strength 8, AP 3, heavy 1. And psych out is strength 7, AP 3, heavy 1, psi shock. So it's got, 2 of those?
Yeah.
2, yeah. So you get 2 missiles essentially. And then the Hellion mounted, I feel like I know where it is.
I have it here. It's 24 inch range, strength 7, AP 4, heavy 6, and pins.
And it's got 2 of those, I believe.
No, not according to this.
No, it's got 1. It's got 1.
Well, it says array. Yeah, and what I read was the array. The heavy 6 is the array.
So it has 2 on the model, but it's shooting the same time. Okay. Yeah. 6 shots at pinning, strength 7, AP 4. Everything pins, essentially. Yay. But honestly, you use it because it's an assault vehicle. It carries 16 models, and it's an assault vehicle.
16. That's like 15 plus 1.
Yeah, so
Whoa.
it's you run up the
They did
board
that
with some
part right, at
sisters.
least.
Yeah, you run up the board with some Sisters of Silence inside with some swords. Turn 2, you get out and you start carving people. Stick Krole in there.
I'm so mad right now.
Why?
Because the visuals of this army is just amazing. And now I really like this army.
They're a great ally.
Shit.
They're an amazing ally. I've used them so many. I've used them about as much as I've used my Custodians. Very rarely do I take them without allies. Now it's a lot harder because they're a different army and there are some rules. There are some rules issues, but no, they're fun. They're just super fun. Who's going to talk about the favorite unit next? Who's doing the best unit of the book?
Are they
I'm
actually
going
the
to
best
do
unit?
it because they
Not
got
the best unit
boys.
rules wise, just the best
It's
unit.
the best
period.
unit.
Yes, the
It's
best
got
unit.
the best
Dave.
boy. You take the
Yes.
best models ever.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll take
Go
it.
ahead.
I'll take it. Pursuer
Okay.
Cadre, 65 points. You get 2 Pursuers and a Pursuer Mistress, so 3 models. They've got movement 6, weapon skill, ballistic skill 4, strength 3, toughness 3, 1, movement initiative 4, 1 attack on the Pursuer, 2 on the Mistress, leadership 7 or 8 on the Mistress, and 3 up saves. They've got a bolt pistol and a generic close combat weapon, frag, crack, ratine armor. They are light, skirmish, anathema. The Mistress is a character. They are Chamber of Oblivion, Fleet 1, Stubborn, Hatred, the good stuff, Loyalist, and they have a rule called Pursuit Beasts.
They could choose animals.
Yeah, they got some animal friends.
I'm going to cover those super fast right now.
Yeah.
You may include a number of Pursuit Beasts as covered on the previous page.
They're points.
It's one beast per model.
Yep.
So basically, you take, if you have a maxed out unit of 6 Pursuers, you then have 6 beasts. For the beasts, you could take a Cyber Mastiff, so Robo Doggy, Cyber Felidae, so Robo Cat, Cyber Cayman for some Robo Crocodiles, and Cyber Raptors, which, let's see, are these birds or are these dinosaurs?
Birds.
Okay, so it's a bird.
Okay.
I was hoping for an actual raptor.
I was really hoping for dinosaurs too.
But then again, it has
they
that's
got
the
the
one with no
crocodiles.
save. So,
Yeah.
and they have various stats. If people are truly interested, they can look at those stats because there's so many.
Honestly,
the profiles are all
I'll
different.
I'll put it this way: the real important ones are that your crocodile gets a feel no pain 5 up. That's
kind
the
of
coolest
cool.
one. You get shrouded 4 up on your birds too.
Oh, but only the fleet for Mastiff, Felidae, and Raptors only though. Crocodile don't get fleet, so the unit's a little bit slower.
If you take those ones, yeah.
Who cares? It's a crocodile. It's strength and toughness 5 with 2 wounds. With feel no pain 5 up.
Oh man, what was that guy from Rick and Morty? The Croculon.
Crocodile.
Half cold, unfeeling reptile, half cold, unfeeling machine.
So, side note, because me and Dave were talking before the podcast.
Yeah, we were.
If you want these models, there's no official models yet, but if you want, if you hate money and
you love Games
Money,
Workshop,
love Nordheim more.
if you are a stockholder in Forge World,
you go to Forge World, you go to Necromunda, and they have all of them. So they have a Cyber Croc, they have a Cyber Dog, they have Cyber Cats, which don't look like cats to me, but that's a different entire story. And they have Cyber Birds. So they have literally all 4 of those models for very, very extreme level prices. But there you go.
Yeah, Cawdor has the birds.
Let me see here.
Warlock has
Escher
the
has
dogs,
the cats.
and
Escher has the
then
cats. Who's the crocodile?
the Goliaths have the Crocs.
Of course they do.
Yeah, Goliath's the crocodile. Yeah.
Look at that chunky boy. All right. I want you to read the options though, Steve, because there is funny. No, there is another stupid rule here.
The fun one.
There is a stupid rule.
Things. The Crocs have 2 wounds, and they'll bump your unit's majority toughness from 3 all the way to 5. That's kind of a big deal.
We'll feel no pine 5
Kind
which is nice.
Kind of a huge deal.
Feel no pain, not pine.
Feel no pine.
Feel no pine. Yeah, they got a tree allergy. All right, so their options. They could add up to 3 additional Pursuers for 10 points each. They can replace their bolt pistols with hand flamers for free, or needle pistols for 5. They can exchange close combat weapons for execution blades.
No. Read that full bullet point. This is where the stupid comes in.
That any model may exchange them?
Yep.
Okay.
Meaning any model in the unit. Meaning crocodiles can wield execution.
Oh my god!
Yes. Just enjoy it while you can.
Well,
Crocodiles
I mean, it's
wielding-
obviously no. So,
Are you sure you don't want crocodiles with blades in their mouths?
No, I want wolves with swords.
They just duct tape it to their head
Go
and they
all
swing
Dark
wildly.
Souls. No, the bird's carrying the sword around.
Oh my
Just
god!
aggressively hitting you with. Oh my! Actually, it came in with the sword though. It'd be strength 7.
Yes,
I mean, that one at least I could see.
and it is 10 points each.
But I mean, okay, obviously you can't do that. So
I
that's
don't
very
know.
simple.
Dave.
I don't know.
I don't know. You could attach lasers.
Everything else is very clearly pursuers.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
It might work.
What makes it even funnier? So watch this. It says any model in the unit may exchange their close combat weapon. So people are like, oh, well, obviously they don't have close combat weapons. If you look
No,
at
they
the
do.
pursuit beasts,
War gear.
what is their war gear? Close combat weapon. I was so done. That's it. I promise.
They also have the skirmish subtype, which,
Yes,
as a
they
reminder, gives you a 3-inch coherency and
Yes.
+1 to your cover saves.
Yeah. Which do you know the weird part? Their unit leader doesn't.
GW, stop.
Oh my god!
Oh my
What are
god,
they
GW.
doing?
What are you doing?
All right, so give your leader skirmish. Take the swords away from the animals. That's not safe. It's very dangerous for them.
The funny is, I was hoping that this unit had the same wording for like a Drathic Destructor, so I could literally have crocodiles with laser beams on top of their head. That was my dream.
You have terrible dreams. Dream bigger.
Oh my god! Best
all
unit.
right.
You have
Best
augury
unit.
scanners if you want to, get free intercept with your pistols.
Yeah, they just should have said one pursuer.
But
That would've
getting
been
onto your
easier.
box, which is nice.
Yeah.
And the mistress can take a power weapon for 10, Tronable for 10, hand flame needle pistol for 5. So you could do no, because it's pursuers versus pursuer mistress. Okay.
Yes.
So she keeps the bolt pistol, just adds a second pistol.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Um,
This unit is so weird.
They are
But also
very weird. I do like them though.
Yeah, they're so cool.
I enjoy the animals. I would only my main curiosity would be looking at them points. Okay, they're all 5 except for the Cayman is 10. But then you start getting to some weird things like okay,
you get 135 points essentially.
what are you talking about for 135?
Oh wait, did I do math wrong? I did.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I was saying add 3 Pursuer Cadres and then 6 crocodiles. Well, I think it's 165.
Well,
Plus
so you'd be at 9. You'd be at 95 just for the Cayman, and you're looking at extra
crocodiles.
60. Yeah, you're looking at 155.
155.
That I could see as an option because then, until one of them starts going down, you could take that as the better toughness. So that could be a thing. The shrouded on the bird, like cool, he's shrouded, but he has no save, so you're not necessarily going to want to take the hit on him unless all you want is the shroud. Like they're cool options, but I don't know if there's like a great and wonderful like way to put it together. As I look through, they just have basic close combat weapons.
You take all crocodiles and then you spend 60
And you
points
give them swords.
giving them execution blades. Exactly. And you have crocodiles with blades.
What do the cerebral pacifiers do?
I didn't even see that. Where the hell is
It's their special rule
rules.
for the animals. It probably just means that they
Holy
do what
crap.
you want. But
I
have
didn't
we
even-
talked about all this and it turns out none of it works because cerebral pacifiers?
I didn't even notice that. Well, that'd be funny if no one did. Let me see if I find this.
I'm sure other people
Triple
have.
pacifiers. This unit may absolutely take a big old sword.
Now I have to look. A model with this special unit never suffers any penalties to its leadership characteristics from the anathema unit subtype. Okay. So they're not affected by these spooky.
There you go. They are not
scary
scared.
spells.
Oh,
Because they are leadership 6. Their leadership is terrible.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the other thing. They're at least this unit is stubborn because their leadership is pretty bad. So you do have to be careful about, like too many and like being stuff like that. But They're really cool. I don't know if you should take
Yeah.
a whole bunch of them, but they're neat. I like them.
They're neat. They're just neat. I like they're the coolest, one of the cooler units, in my opinion.
Yeah. All right. Let's move. Let's get away from the circus here. If they let them take Jacaros, we'd be in business, but they don't.
Sadly, it's Oblivion, so you're limited to only 3 units of Cybercrocs.
Yeah, you can only get 18 Cybercrocs. You
Yeah.
are maxed out at 18 of them.
That's heartbreaking.
So I can't complain. We're talking about Flames of War stuff, and I'm looking at Hungarians because they can take horses. One of their units has horses, the Hussars, essentially. So I was like, that's kind of cool because horse guys. So hey, you like animals? Go for animals. All right, Firebrand Cadre. The next fast attack choice. These are 70 points. Their stat line, so their weapon skill, blitz skill, 6 move, obviously. Otherwise, they're the same as we've seen for a lot of them. 1 attack, 2 attacks, leadership 7/8 for the leader, 3 up saves, all very, very normal. The difference is these ones have flamers. They have the standard frag crack, they have the standard armor. They are Chamber of Judgment, so one of the other chambers. They're Fleet 1 with Stubborn. I am enjoying the Stubborn on most of these units. I think that's really good. Although we know sometimes they get Fearless otherwise, so not it makes it more equal. At least you don't have to worry too much related to that about if you remember which unit has which rules. So essentially, this is just your unit with flamers. They can take the Acquisitor, Acquisitioner if they want. 5 more of them for 12 points each. They can take 5-point compression tanks, any of the models that you want. And since they have flamers, you could make an argument for doing that. They may all swap out for the grenade launchers, 5 points each, or everyone take a snare gun. Augury scanners, Nunzio Voxes, and then the leader gets the standard power weapons, charnable weapons, or hand flamer, needle pistol, plasma. I can't imagine taking the transport because it's 150 points for that transport for these, unless you just want more transports. I guess
I take them with grenade launchers. I've taken this unit, I've taken them with grenade launchers because I like I like small blast pitting, and there's 10 of them, so it's just nice to spread wounds out, right? Or someone ever takes a psyker or corrupted or demon, but if anyone takes a psyker, this unit's going directly at that unit.
Yeah, as much as I would love to keep them with the flamers, just thinking about where Sisters of Battle go to in the future, like sort of that sort of arm, and maybe as like the 40k equivalent, not exactly, but that sort of thing. But like the flamer is just very short range, and I don't have a cheap transport option. So yeah, probably the grenade launchers are probably your best bet.
Yeah.
Do the flamers if you need protection in your backfield, if you're really worried about them rushing forward. Or where they might be.
It's a shame that they are judgment and not vigilance, because then at least you could like infiltrate or scout up.
Yes.
To like
alleviate I'm sure that's why they transport.
Did it. Yeah. Oh.
Because even then, without the transport, hey, now I got at least I'm closer. I might get my flamers off. On this, if I'm walking across the board, yeah, I got Fleet 1, but I'm walking across the board. I'm going like 11 inches or something like that. You're gonna shoot me if you want. I'll never shoot these flamers otherwise. At least, yeah. The grenade launchers, I get some shots.
Between the fleet and the light.
True. Yeah. Okay, yes, yeah. You do get the extra a little bit further from that.
And you could snap shoot the flamer, which would be D3 hits. So kind of works.
All right.
Just running them, because it's still 3 auto hits.
Yeah, I forgot D3, that with the flamer, you do get that. So,
yeah.
All right, if you're doing it that way, I could see it. I'm still not in love with the choice. I think I still like the grenade launchers more.
I'm not at all in love either. But it's there.
It's there.
Yeah.
It's a unit.
They would be
it's plastic.
Protecting your troops. They're somewhat back there, and if something comes forward to threaten them, you just lay a bunch of essentially auto hits onto something.
Yep.
I think that's probably what you would do with them. Not a great option, but I don't know. I said it before, at least they're cheap. It's better than some of the other units we've seen for Space Marines that do somewhat the same thing. oh, I'm 1 better toughness, but I'm spending 30, 40, 50 more points to do almost nothing extra, and I'm not stubborn and all those. So I at least like them better for that. If you want a flamer unit, this at least is an option.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's get to people who are fast. Dan, talk about these and make me happy.
Subjugators.
Because the last unit I'm not happy about.
No, these are good. These are great. This is basically the bike squad. Move 18, an extra wound, but other than that, exactly the same as other sisters.
Yeah.
You get 3 of them in the squad for 105. They're skirmish, anti-grav. Hey, look at this. The mistress is also skirmish, by the way. Haha.
Nice.
Nice. They have the jet bike, the Branded armor. The jet bike, remember, comes stock with the snare gun. They have firing protocols too, so they could fire bolt pistol and their snare gun, I guess. You can take seven additional ones for 25 points each for a unit of 10. You can replace the entire unit. Apologies. The entire unit can replace with needle gut cannons at 5 points, or Adrathic destructors for 10. If you really want to instant death whatever the hell you're touching. The Mechanicum players literally freak out at that one. Here's 10 instant death AP3 guns. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you have a cast? Yeah. Did you have Thalax and or Castellax?
Well, Castellax at least take D3 wounds instead of dying. Thalax absolutely.
Yeah, just erase the squad. Take the board off.
Things. These guys have firing protocols too, but the character did not.
Yeah, that's an oversight. The character should absolutely have it.
Yeah.
Yup.
Damn. You can do hand flamer, needle pistol, plasma pistol. That's the mistress, and the mistress can also take a power weapon, power fist, and a Charnival weapon. But other than that, it's just a super fast bike unit.
I kind of like them with the needle cannons.
Yeah,
I see this army in my mind currently as winning just by stopping you. I'm not going to, beat you down. You're still probably going to have plenty of models left, but I'm going to try pinning you, and I'm going to be slowing you down, and I'm going to be throwing cheap units in your way. And I see I'm going to achieve my objective. I'll get more points out because I'm not going to let you get enough.
I mean,
and I think this unit does that well.
From the 2 battle reports I've seen, it's literally someone to Krole, 2 HQs, a couple of Sword Sisters and Sword Elites, right? So that's their close combat punch with line. And then they took bikes for snare guns, and they were zooming around the board, slowing shit down. And then the sisters would charge in out of their assault vehicles and just kind of tie stuff up. And against dreadnoughts, there's really not an answer. You'll notice very quickly that really the only answers they have. Well, we'll get to that in a moment. But
they could snare a dreadnought and immobilize it.
They could snare it
with the cannon. It's not bad.
One.
The threatening part of a dreadnought, if you ask me, is the melee because of the brutal, just insanity.
There's not a lot of AP2 in the army is the problem. Your AP2 comes in the form of the vehicles. That's it. But, I mean, honestly, if your opponent's not scoring objectives and you are, well then,
So these ones are Chamber of Judgment. I would see, in my mind, you obviously have to have a leader that's Judgment as well. Sure, you're going that. I would probably have a few of these units. I would probably keep one with the snare cannons, because now I can really have a good option at slowing down even your dreadnoughts, because it was strength 7, dreadnoughts strength 7. So on 4s, I'm causing that. So I can slow down any of your dreads. And another unit with probably, say, needle pistols or something like that, where I can be pinning and actually harming your other unit. I like that sort of thing. And then I guess the close combat bolt pistol, if you truly need to stop someone, just to rush up, hit them. You probably won't win the combat, but maybe you can slow them down for long enough. All right.
This next unit's my favorite.
I would say, why don't you talk about that? Because I know you love the drill, and we haven't done base units yet. So we haven't truly talked about it yet.
Oh my god, that's right. We haven't.
We have to go back to it at some point.
So
but no,
next up is one of my favorite units in the entire game, and that is the Termite Assault Drill. In this army, it's a fast attack slot. So for 80 points, you get a movement 8 vehicle with ballistic skill 4, armor 12, 12, 10, 3 hull points, and transport capacity 12. It's armed with 2 pintle-mounted twin-link bolters and some melta-cutters. It's a transport vehicle. It is Chamber of Vigilance. I'm not sure that actually does anything though, because
That just
you
means
are
unlimited.
also
Everyone has to
infantry
be something.
Well, you don't have to be, but yeah. Infantry transport, subterranean assault, which kind of invalidates the vigilance thing because you have to be in this version of essentially alternate deep strike, and you have to be loyalist like the rest of this list. You have 2 access points on each side of the hull. You can replace the bolters with either Volkite chargers or heavy flamers for 10 points.
Is this different from the Termite Assault Drill from normal?
Nope, this is exactly the same.
Yeah, it's the same.
So what happens is you take all your drills, they show up out of the ground like a deep strike. But instead of causing pinning, they cause D6 Strength 6 AP dash hits to all units within 6 inches. They're really fun. The melt cutters are hilarious because they are 6-inch range melt-a-guns with 3 shots. So you kind of slowly creep your way across the board, just like melta, 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 melta,
So
melta, melta, melta.
So if I had a 3,000 point game, I would take some Termite Assault Drills with the Flavor Sisters.
Problem is they're both fast attack slots.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, there's your 3 slots.
No, that's the main problem. No one has taken this as a dedicated, so you're losing your slots for it. Yeah, you're not doing it that way.
Grumpy Dan sounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was so where's the want? Ugh.
I'm desperately checking for someone to have it, but I don't think they do.
Nope.
No, they don't.
Unfortunately, no one does. I think that's a big miss. If they let this be dedicated or some other way, okay,
like a Rite of War style thing.
Yes, they're it's a special army. Do something special with them. I'd be happy with that because I'd love then I take those ones with flamers. Then I'm more wanting to take the ones with when they could do bolt pistols, dual hand flamers, and kind of go that option, because that with a bunch of bikes, I think now you have an army that could actually work really well, but you can't.
You can't,
because Termites are great. So they're ironically some of the best tank hunting in the game. Not best, but they're up there because they deep strike and do some hits, and then they shoot you with the melta just in case they didn't do it the first time.
Yeah,
they're great. I love termites. I love termites so much.
And even if you're not tank hunting with it, you have a 3-shot melta gun. So if you're close with something that again I want to try and double out, here's an option. Mm-hmm. Here's a weapon that actually doubles something out where this army doesn't really have that. Not so far.
Oh, yeah, and one more thing. Unlike drop pods, these things move 8 inches a turn, so 4 and shoot everything, or 8 and shoot one thing. But you don't have to get out either. You could just sit inside your tank and just creep across the table once you arrive.
Yeah, if you don't like your spot, just hang out.
It's a ton of fun.
Only it's not an assault vehicle, so don't stick Sword Sisters in there because you're going to be real sad when they pop out.
I mean,
no.
Hey, you have plenty of shooting type shoot bolt pistols because this isn't 40k.
Actually,
if you want salt,
so,
this is missing from the Mechanicum core book.
Okay, but really quick. Oh, we haven't gotten there yet. I know a perfect unit for this.
Okay, well, we're not there yet.
I know exactly, but
I know the one.
Strength 9 flamers. Is that what you're thinking? Or not strength 9? Strength 7 flamers. Yeah, we'll get to that when we get to that. Oh yeah, we'll get to that when we get to it.
All right.
Who's taking the next one?
Termites.
Well, we have 2 units. So, do you want to take the Sanctioners?
I'll take the Expurgators because that's where the combo comes in.
All right. So I'll take the Sanctioners. Yeah, that's the unit that you want to take with it. There.
Yeah.
So we got 2 heavy support choices. Here's the first one. So the Sanctioner Cadre, 85 points for 5 of them. You are looking at the normal stat line that we've been talking about for these more normal units: 4 weapon skill, 4 ballistic skill, the 1 attack, 2 attacks for the leader, all of that. Same. These ones have Nemesis bolters, Frank grenades. They have their armor, gives them 3-up save, and they have the Spectra cloaks.
Minus 6 inches.
Yep. Like I said, for some reason they wouldn't do that instead of shroud bombs. So they're Chamber of Vigilance, Fleet 1 Stubborn. That's pretty much all across the board for almost all these units. Loyalist, and March for Death. March for Death is what? They choose a unit ahead of time thing?
Yeah, you pick a unit, and I think you re-roll 1s to wound against that. I'll double check that one.
Okay, yeah. If you take a look, it's been too long. It's been too long since I've used any units with that. They can also take the Acquisitor, the dedicated transport. You can take 5 more of them for 15 points. all of them maintain their Nemesis bolters for Valentine Nemesis bolters. What's the addition when it's Valentine?
So, yeah, the difference. So, Nemesis
Psycho.
bolter, for those who don't know, is 72, 5/5, so strength 5, AP 5, heavy 1, rending 5 up, sniper pinning.
Yep.
The Nemesis bolter is shorter range, 52, less strength, strength 4, AP 5, heavy 1, rending 5 up, sniper pinning, psi shock. So you're losing range, you're losing 1 pip of strength, although really you're looking for the rending 5 up, who gives a shit? But it's still sniper, you are still pinning.
You're not only looking for the rending there. If you don't get rending, you still want wounds. It still matters.
So yeah, you are technically losing a pip of strength, but it's still rending 5 up.
Technically, you are losing a pip of strength.
Yeah. But you do gain psi shock, which is, again, if no one takes a psyker or demon or corrupted, that doesn't really do anything.
Yeah. The big problem is you have to take it on all of them, so that's a minimum 25 points, and you're hoping they have a psyker. And even if they have a psyker, all right, I'm better against that unit.
Gotta wound them.
Yeah, it still got to hurt you, and it only helps against that unit.
Well, remember, it's sniper, so you could snipe, you could hit the sniper, and once you hit the unit, they're also taking a...
yeah, but I don't think that losing that pip of strength counterbalances the fact that you're paying 5 more points to do maybe D3 extra wounds.
Yeah. And a unit of 5, I'm looking at 25 more points to maybe do more if the conditions are right. Now, if you happen to be playing where like everyone has 1,000 Suns and everyone's running tons and tons of Psychers, sure, because that's very fitting and that would be fluffy that maybe you're hunting them down. But if not, I wouldn't bother spending it.
Yeah.
Augury Scanner, Nunzio Voxes. And then the leader can take the standard, the 2 different types of weapons and pistols and flamers.
Sniper unit.
As your heavy support. So that just tells you how light these ladies are.
Yeah.
You only have 2 heavy support units. So and your units are cheap. So I see you filling up your Force Org a lot more readily than you would in other armies, perhaps. So a sniper unit is not a bad thing, and you can. This is a good way to pick out the stuff that you want, or to try to kill the big problematic units or parts of them that are the most problematic, because that's something you don't really have a lot of.
Yeah.
But all right, why don't you talk about the last one here?
Yeah, Expurgators, same stat line. Not even going to go over it. 85 points. You get 5 of them, and you get an additional 5 for 15 points each. So again, still as expensive. They are all armed with heavy flamers. Now, the reason I said strength 7 heavy flamers is because if you want, you can give all 10 of them, right, for 5 points, for 50 points, you can give them compression tanks. So for 1 turn, they all shoot strength 7 flamers. It's not that bad. They can also take Adrathic Destructors for 20 points each.
That
Snare
seems like
cannons
a really
for
bad
3.
rate.
Yeah, it's a really bad rate.
Do not do that. It's so much.
And they could take missile launchers for
15
points
each. That's not great either.
Not great. Basically, what I was saying was, if you really want, you could take 2 Termite Assault Drills and then like a 10-man unit of bikes, right? And the 2 Termite Drills are armed with 2 sets of heavy flamers. Don't even give them the compression tanks. That's 10 heavy. That's 20 heavy flamer hits coming out of a tank from Deep Strike.
Well, not necessarily. No.
Oh.
Heavy flamers are not heavy type. They're assault type.
Yeah. So it's I don't know.
You use the template.
Yeah.
You have to position the template for all 10 of them.
Remember, you have to. Okay, if you have a unit of 10,
to get the snapshots. Yeah.
Yes.
Which you could do in the next turn, but not when you just. Can you run on this?
Yeah. Wait. Why can't you shoot while you're disembarking? I'm so confused.
No. Can you run while disembarking?
Why would I run while disembarking? I'm so confused.
To make it snapshots.
Okay. While you look up that, I'll answer Dan's question. So here's the answer to your question, Dan. You have 10 of these. You are walking 6 inches out of your transport.
Okay.
If less the unit that you are going against is positioned perfectly, you're not going to get all 10 of them to shoot, because you can't overlap the template on each other. So you're going to have some real troubles spreading them out in such a way off of a 6-inch move to get 10 non-overlapping models that also can target the enemy well.
What do you wait? The template can't overlap, or it can't overlap?
No, the template cannot touch any of your own models.
No, that's what I meant. Yeah, you could just.
Yeah, that's not going to be easy to do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was that's what we're saying. That's not easy.
Points. Oh, okay. Because I'm saying when you deep strike the Termite Assault Drill, right?
Yeah.
They both come up at the same time. They don't really scatter unless you roll like shit, right? And even if they roll like shit, what you do is you just stay in the
Well,
vehicle.
Are you sure they're not an auto scatter thing? Remember, certain things auto scatter. Deep strikes auto scatter.
Subterranean, that would be a Steve
Subterranean
question.
scatters a bit.
Well,
I'm pretty
I think
sure.
yeah, it's 2d6, isn't it? Steve, we need Steve here for this one. We need the master of the termite drill. But I was saying is, if it scatters, it scatters. If it doesn't, you stay in the vehicle. And now you have 10 sisters in there with flamers. If they get out, they shoot. And if they get assaulted or someone shoots them, you shoot back. With Overwatch,
Agreed.
you do
I
3
just I
shots.
don't think it's going to be as ideal as you want it to be
No,
because it's
but
going to be
it's-
harder to get the shots off.
True, but it
And a
is
big
something you can do. Because we were talking about the termite. What do you do with the termite? And you don't want to put the fast attack ones in there because they take the same slot. But here you go. You could take Expurgators. Expurgators. I feel like I'm putting a hard G in there.
Steve, did you find that, or should I pause it for a moment and we'll take a look?
I just found my book. Give me 1 second to get back in my spot.
So, Steve, real quick.
So,
Steve,
you
He's
while you're
looking up something. Don't ask him something.
Dan, rules. So,
Yeah.
when you disembark from a vehicle, you may only make a normal move. You cannot run.
Okay.
If you ran, you could use the Wall of Death rule in order to snap shoot the flamers.
But it's assault.
Yes.
So.
Yes, that's what will let you do.
That's why you need to run, because the run,
it.
you can't
Okay.
snap shoot a template weapon, but templates, like the flame template, have the Wall of Death rule, which says if you are forced to snap shoot, you instead
Yes, and since they're
get
light,
D3.
they'd be allowed to do that.
Okay.
If you take a full unit of 10, I'm not saying you won't get good shots, but you're not going to get as many as you may like because it's going to be a little hard to position. That's all.
Okay.
I forget. I think we had another question, but
Oh, the termite
might
assault
be
drill.
oh yeah.
Steve,
When they come in, do they scatter? Termite assault
I mean,
drills?
yeah, but if you roll a hit, you hit.
True. Okay.
If you have an
Yeah,
Nuncio
so-
box that sees the point you're showing up, you could re-roll the scatter as well.
That is true.
That is very true. You're going to need that. In all actuality, you absolutely need that.
So,
for
okay,
this.
100%.
you take 2 Expurgator squads with termites, right? You take a Sanctioner squad for the sniper. You take 1 bike squad, because you have 1 fast attack left. 1 bike squad for the snare cannons, for the lulls, or the needle cannon. You need the bike sister with the snare cannon for the -2 inches. Or screw it, you take all snare cannons. Who cares? And then you have a bunch of assaulty tanks with swords in there. So, I mean, that's pretty much a list-ish.
Yeah, unfortunately, I just had Battle Scribe. These guys are not in there yet because otherwise I
No.
would build one right now. Since Dan plays this army, when
Yes.
this comes out on the YouTube, which will be about in a day or two, I'm going to have him send
Do you
maybe
want
like
an
a
allied
starter.
force?
Do
Or do you want like a...
I want an allied
force?
force. So here's what I want. I want an allied force, and then because that would be a good starter, and then like maybe a 2K list as like something to build towards.
Got it.
Because like the 3K, that's like a whole bunch. Like I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't
If
even know
someone
if they
doesn't
reach
already have this,
3K.
no. And here's the other
That's-
thought: if someone doesn't have this army, they're not looking at that anytime soon. But an
Exactly.
ally
It's
may
an
be a nice
assault.
way to start, and then getting close to a 2K might be somewhere that you go from there.
No, I
So.
could definitely do it. I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Right. You want... Okay, so real quick.
Yes.
Starter army or an allied force. I'm assuming you don't want Krole in there, because Krole is like...
No. Nope.
Okay.
No, keep it without the special
I
character.
actually have it somewhere on my... Fun fact, I actually have it somewhere in my notes, because I take them as an ally. It's about... Oh, God, I wish I could find it. It's like 300-ish points
Okay.
for a small detachment. And it's like perfect.
All
It's
right.
a perfect small detachment.
Yes. So when this comes out, Dan will have that together. I'll make sure that's posted and links to it and all on the YouTube as well. And we'll put that up on our Facebook as well since we have that. So let's go to final thoughts. I guess it doesn't matter too much who starts. Do we want to start from the position of the person who knows it best, or sort of our reaction?
Go from...
Let's
go to
do reactions,
first.
and then Dan will
Yeah.
tell us if we're all wrong.
We won't be wrong.
No, you
All
won't be
right,
wrong.
Steve, why don't you go first? Because you seem to know
Okay.
a little bit less about it going in than I did.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
So, as an army, first of all, it's going to be a lot of plastic, but also a lot of conversions.
Yes.
At this point, unless you want transports, and then good luck. When you write a list, I feel like a lot of the points are going to end up being just those transports, as well as the majority of the dollars you spend. As a pure Sisters army, I feel like you kind of be stuck at lower points levels just because the models are like so few points each. You don't really have those big chunky elite units like Terminators, for example, that you just dump points into. They seem to have more of a close combat bias, but not a ton of delivery. They have one delivery option. The limitation of 9 units outside of like the baseline unit type is it's interesting. I feel like you have to kind of know what you want to do, like from the ground up. You can't be like, I want to like just kind of like dance around like you like I want this unit, so I need this HQ. I think that's the direction you would build a list from. Units and then HQs to lead them. Which is kind of the opposite of how I do my Marine lists.
Someone
I have
is like
no
tapping
idea how they
all
stack.
over their microphone.
That would be Dan.
Probably me.
Yeah.
Last edition, they were extremely agonizing to try to kill in close combat because it was a very pillow punchy edition last edition. And they had power swords, and I didn't. So it was rough. And they kind of still have that going on now with the Strength 5 AP3. So, yeah, no. I'm seeing this as a close combat army with ranged support.
Yeah, that's exactly how they are.
So, for my thoughts, overall, I do like them. I do think they're cool. I think they fit an ally very nicely. I think even if you want to do primary with an ally that you're bringing in, I can think it fits very well. I think they have some rather big problems. I think one, they were done a disservice because they had the Crusade Force org chart. And as Steve said, they're rather cheap, which is both a blessing and a curse because you're going to have a hard time filling it or filling it enough. When I'm looking at the, say, elites, there's 2 elite options. That's it. And when I'm looking at it now, one of them's Vigilance. So one of them you could take a bunch of. The other one's Oblivion. So if you want to be able to use some of those, you better have an Oblivion option. At least the other one you can. It feels like you're going to struggle to fill enough in a way you're happy with. There are glaring weaknesses. Long range, strong fire is a huge glaring weakness. So I think having someone to ally with, either as your ally, let's say you want this to be your army because you really like them, because Dan can discuss more about bringing them as an ally. But if you're allying someone in, I'm allying in because I want a heavy weapons team. I'm allying in because I want some heavy tanks or a heavy tank. I want something to be able to put long range fire down. I see problems of, like I said, one, getting through heavy things, or maybe not so much survivability because you would have a lot of models. I'm a little bit less worried about survivability because a very expensive unit firing at one of yours, okay, they're probably going to kill me, but they would have killed anything they shot at, and at least I don't cost much. I said, I see your win options really as you're trying to play the game. In no way are you trying to kill your opponent. You'll do some of that, but your goal is to play the game and stop them from doing theirs. If it's not objective, like this army to me feels that they need progressive scoring because I need to be able to get objectives, slow you down, pin you, do all those little tricks where later most of my models might be dead, but I've scored enough. They're not going to win sort of that attrition game. I don't think so. If you're going to score at the end, I'm probably going to be struggling because I might not have that much left by the end. So I think they absolutely should have had some other options as dedicated. I'm really surprised we didn't have any big long-range tile units. They probably aren't too bad to build because you got the plastic kit. Because there's not a huge variety of weapons, it makes it easy to kind of convert them up. You don't have to worry about getting, 5 different kits to put one unit together, but they probably fit ally very well. They fit small point games well, and anything bigger, ally someone in that you can go along well with. Actually, maybe when Dan puts it together, maybe we'll look for an ally. Then like
I already
maybe
did my ally.
The ally for sure. Maybe a 1K.
Oh, you son of a gun! So I did 660. I did an HQ.
No.
And 2 troops.
So here's what I'm saying: an ally.
Yeah.
Maybe then like a 1K, and if someone wants, we'll put something bigger together. Because I'm I'm not
I
sure
did
if
a
you want to
2K.
go much bigger. You have a 2K? Okay.
I have 100 sisters, so I can actually run a 2K. Ironically,
but like the average
very
person wouldn't do
effectively.
that, and I don't know if I would
No.
say effectively.
What I did.
It's time to make Dan feel bad.
Yes.
A sister's army is extremely close to the $1 per point mark.
Yes.
Because it's 65 points for 5 sisters.
Listen,
right?
we're going to leave it that it's expensive, goddammit.
The Arcator is 160 points for 150 point tank. So you're pretty much like on the $1 per point.
Listen,
that's rough.
And here's what I will say though. All right, you can get to a 2,000 point list. I don't know if I feel good about the 2,000 point list. No. I'm not saying it can't win games.
It's not a great. Yeah, it's not great.
No, it's rough.
So, do you want me to do I did an alliance that's 660 or 330. That's the funny part.
I'll post it all up. It's fine. You just send it and I'll post it.
So, do you want 1,000 or do you want us to leave it at that? Allied force.
No.
As an
normal
allied
army
force,
1,000.
Yeah. Normal army 1,000? Oh, that's easy.
Ally, normal army 1,000, normal army 2,000. Because
that's
do an
ally
options.
for each of the setups. One is Oblivion, one as Judgment. Because you can't have both in an allied detachment. That's the thing.
You're not going to.
So
that's fine as well.
I have an Oblivion. It's Oblivion is the allied force.
Okay.
I should point out.
Okay. All right. What are your final thoughts on this army, Dan? Because you
honestly,
play them.
You hit the nail on the head. Listen, are they an army? Not really. I want them to be an army. Not really. My biggest salt point, I will point out, and this, and I hate to curse, but this fucking irritates me to no end. And I don't know why GW this, but this is a fucking irritation. Last edition, the Sisters of Silence were in the army list for Custodes. And those rules about building, you had to take, if you wanted to take cheap sister troops, you had to have an HQ, right? So you couldn't I'm taking the Custodes and then I'm going to just fill out my troops with like 2 5-man squads. That's not how it worked. You still needed the HQs, right? And they were just built into the Custodes list. So you can mix and match them as you damn well pleased. And they played a lot better that way. Now that they're allies and rules as written cannot be allied with Custodes, but that's obviously a mistake by a long shot.
Yes.
But let's say they can be allied with Custodes because obviously GW is not the best at writing rules. I don't like the fact that now I have to separate them as an army and take them separately. That's just a salty moment. But anyway, that's step one. That just irritates me to literally no end. Because, for example, in 40K, it took forever, absolutely forever for GW to include sisters with Custodes, right? Finally, they did in this edition before they were separated to only lose it in 30K. You know what I mean? So it's just, just huge irritation by me. That being said, that is a disclaimer. I actually like this army. I think as an army, they don't do very well. I know people because I follow the Discords, obviously. I know people Discords have been running them and to very good effect. And it's usually the same army. It's bikes, Acquisitors with swords, rush up the board, have some snipers in the back. It's a very plain, I don't want to call it plain because that's so mean, but it's a very simple army. It does what it does. You snare gun, you snipe down, and you charge with swords, right? And you have Krole, because Krole is just absolutely insane. And they take Knight Centuras, because if you have anything that challenges anything, weapon skill 1, someone check the weapon skill chart. Do you always hit on a 6 on the weapon skill chart, or do you just stop hitting at a certain point?
You always hit on 6 on the weapon skill chart.
So yeah,
if it's over twice as bad, it's a 6,
which makes it's automatic because your weapon skill 1.
Yeah.
Unless you're also weapon skill 1.
One-on-one
is technically back to force.
How do you become? Anyway,
they do it back to
they could blind you. Yeah.
They could blind. That is true. But yeah, no, it's as an army, I don't know. I've seen it work. I don't like how monopose it is, but it does work. I like them more as an ally. And a good hefty ally. I think allies can be 33%? No. I'm making stuff up.
They fit in the ally piece.
Oh, so it's just 1 HQ.
HQ, 1 to 3 troops, and then you can have up to 1 fast, 1 heavy, and 1 elite. Maybe.
Yeah, so
I think it's just 1.
But is it or and for that one?
And.
You can take one of all those things.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I don't know if it was
it's not points anymore now.
Yeah, no. So honestly, they fit perfectly as an elite. Because I know I'm going to send, obviously, Dave this list, but if you want a minimum sized force, which is a Knight Centura and 10 Vigilators, Don't take 5 because then it's absolutely useless. That's stupid. But 10 Vigilators and a Knight Centura. Also, don't use a Knight Centura from the box. Did we talk about this yet in the podcast? Or we were mentioning this
I'm going to build one out of the
podcast?
box just to ruin your day.
Oh my god, I will
Why?
literally
What's the
throw you
problem
out the window.
box?
So the problem on the box
Then you
is
have
5 models.
4
5 or 10.
sisters, and you have the one just floating out there.
Yeah.
1 as character, and then 4 just like one.
They come in boxes of 5. There's no extra. So if you build one out of the box, you're left with 4.
And then you convert 3 of those into the medics, and you have just 1 extra.
There you go.
2 characters, 3 medics.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think we discussed it before the podcast, but if you're building a sister, you go to eBay, you look up Esmelda Braskov. She's a Cursed City model. It's $14, $13. You buy her, you get her, you replace her head with the Sister of Silence head because you get 10 in a box of 5, and you now have a Sister of Silence. It's almost a direct 1-to-1 conversion. And it looks cool because she's got like the fur cloak on. So it's literally a Sister of Silence model. So that's what you do, guys. So anyway, a Knight Centura, 10 Vigilators, and a tank, because you kind of want the tank, is 330 points. And for 330 points, you have an anti-psyker squad. And if there are no psychers, you now have a line squad with AP3, rending 6-up weapons that coming out of an assault vehicle with a leadership -1 bubble. In a move 16 transport vehicle, right? Is it move 16 or move 18? Yeah, for 330 points. That is not bad. That's 10 bodies with an HQ, all with AP3 weapons. Screw it. You want to be 340? Give it. Oh, you can't give the Knight Centura Paragon Blade. You want to be 360? Take the Knight Abyssal. Now you have extra wound, extra everything. Now your weapon skill 6 for some odd reason. And then if you want to be 370, throw in the Paragon Blade. You know what I mean? For sub 400 points, you get a nasty little block inside a tank. Something that an opponent does not want to deal with and will shoot up, which also involves him not shooting up the rest of your forces. Because if they get out and assault something, which they can, it will hurt. It will absolutely hurt.
Sure. It is something to keep in mind that your good assault units do have power weapons on all of them. So that and at strength 5. So it's not to say that you can't get work done. They absolutely can do some work. The problem is there going to be enough of an army if you took them?
No, very true. Well, it's not an army. It's an allied. It's again.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. Like when you look at it, they do have some good spots.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I use them as a nice kind of dagger. While my Custodes forces are like the hammer, these guys are on the flanks ready to sweep up any back objectives or anything that's in the backfield. They're not going against close combat forces. That's not their job. Their job is to carve up a tactical squad in the back line.
Yeah.
That's what they do. And they do that well. If you 660 points, by the way, will buy you 2 Knight Abyssal and 2 Vigilator Cadres, or sorry, an Oblivion Cadre and a Vigilator Cadre. But yeah, no, the more points you get, the more you could start bringing different things. You could start bringing bikes in your allied force. If you, let's say you're Loyalist Iron Warriors. Where's Steve? No, Steve's not doing anything.
Just keep going.
Okay.
You're Loyalist Iron Warriors, and of course fine. you have to bring the what are they called? The Iron Circle. So you're Loyalist Iron Warriors.
Now you've crossed the line.
I was like, I knew there's something that would piss them off. So if you're Loyalist Iron Warriors, you're focused on bolter. Is the pinning bolters a traitor only right of war?
It's just a war gear option. 2 points.
No. But the right of war that does.
No, it's not locked.
It's not locked. So you have that's a very shooting thing. You have shrapnel bolters everywhere. It's a very shooting army. Take some snare guns. Your opponent's gonna really hate the fact that he cannot get closer to your short range bolters. You know what I mean? You're playing Ultramarines. You do everything well. Screw it. You don't need sisters. But let's say you want a nice little anti-psyker bubble, right? Put them in those stupid Dune Worm tanks. Rush them up the board. They're not going to be shooting your Fulmintaris, who's Suzerain, right? That's 330 points of scary. They're shooting your Suzerain or they're shooting your tanks that are now fleeing up the board at 18 inches. If you're running, they just pair well with anything. You know, they pair well with it. Let's say you're playing Dark Angels, Dave, right? And you want a nice little allied force. Take some really, really stupid cheap snipers, right? They're really cheap snipers.
But Space Marines can do snipers. I mean, I'm not saying that's not an option.
It's just they're cheaper.
It's an option.
They're cheap.
No, No, because I have to take an HQ, I had to take a troop, and then I had to take the sniper unit.
But the HQ and troop is line, and if you're taking the Sword Sisters, that's still you can again move that tank up and assault something in the back line. It's not like they're useless. It's not like a tax.
No.
Sometimes you take an allied force and it's a tax.
Yes.
This is not a tax unit. This is still a usable allied force. It's the
problem, Dan. Problem. Aren't the snipers
ahead.
Judgment and the swords?
Oblivion? Are they Judgment? Oh, hold on.
Yeah, snipers would be Judgment. They're shooting.
Judgment. So give me a second. I need the.
So you're stuck with the Bolter squad. That is a tax because it does absolutely nothing useful.
Oh, yeah, true. The Bolters do. Yeah. I mean, what I say, Ultramarines, they could be a back squad. Oh, that's so sad to say. I feel so bad.
I mean, I think what's boiling down to is if you really want to use them, you can find some decent options. If you want to ally with them, you can find some decent options. If they're going to be like your sole big thing, unless you like exactly certain types of builds, I don't think you're going to get a lot of difference. This is not an army where you're going to build 5 different lists and feel good about them. You're going to build one list, feel okay, and every other list is going to make you sad.
There are going to be 2 lists. One where you have 2 Oblivion models, one where you have 2 Judgment models. That's the variant. Is it 2 and 1 or 1 and 2 for Judgment versus Oblivion on the HQs?
So yeah, I see the variant is: do you own assault
crocodiles
drills?
Or dogs?
No. Do you have assault drills, and how many are you taking? If not, how many bikes are you swinging in? Because if I don't have those drills, I'm taking 3 units of bikes. And I'll take whatever HQs I need to make that happen. But if I have assault drills, now I have a different option.
That's fair. That is fair. Silly question, Dan. The Sisters of Silence box has not changed, right? It's like the 40k release box right now, right?
Yeah, it's 5 Sisters of Silence. You build
flavors. They haven't done a heresy version. Do you think there's any chance they would do a heresy box?
If they're going to release
where
models.
You get the 10-man box for less than
I hope they do.
2 5-man boxes.
Yeah, I really hope they do.
I
used to.
They will, because remember, at this current point, GW tends, if it's in the big books, not legacies, it tends to be something that will have a model or gets a model. I do think at some point they're going to have an intention of doing that. Don't know when, but otherwise I think the whole army might have been just like a legacy, or they would have had like 2 units. The fact they differentiated them enough, I think they're going to want to put at least 1 box out.
I'm hoping to do the bikes. There's been some really cool STLs.
Well, I'm talking about a repackage to lower that entry point, because $1 a point almost is.
Yeah, bad. I hope so.
It's almost worth getting the Custodes Combat Patrol and just selling off the Custodes. Because you get 10 Sisters of Silence in that Combat Patrol.
Actually, I would say get Combat Patrol is probably the nicest.
So then you have $40 of junk that you could sell for like $50, and you save $10 or whatever. Just repeat as needed, or just collect both. That's what Dan does.
Yeah, I just collect both because again, they used to be both the same army, and then GW was like,
What if I made everyone's lives difficult?
Yeah, a lot more harder. Yeah, thanks GW.
Oh, and one last really stupid thing I don't think we mentioned yet. Technically, you can't take Sisters and Custodes right now.
That is true.
We actually mentioned it.
I did mention that very briefly, but if someone wants to mention why.
Common sense, it should be allowed. They could be allies. Rules as written, they can't be, because they both use the Imperial Army line on the Allies Matrix. And unless, I checked the FAQs for both the Liber Imperium as well as the main rulebook, maybe there's like a sentence buried somewhere that I missed. You can't ally armies of the Imperium with armies of the Imperium. Or Imperial Army is what it's called. Because you can't do, for example, Ultramarines with Ultramarines, as we Ultramarines with a different Legion, right? Because you can't just buy more slots the way the rules are set up. So you can't do Sisters plus Custodes in one list, which is really weird. Because in the Mechanicum book, they added entire new detachments you could take. Like, here's your your actual Titan detachment, where you get a Titan and some Skitarii to guard it as an additional detachment beyond the allied detachment. Here it's just like, here's your units. They can't work together. Good luck. I think that's an oversight. Eventually, I think they'll FAQ it when they realize how glitchy some of the entries are, between 2-up saves, whether or not things are skirmish, lack of firing protocols. Eventually, I feel like it's going to get FAQ'd. Be like, yeah, they could work together. But as of right now, rules as written, you can't, but that's stupid. Play them allied. It's the way it should be.
Yeah, I agree. All right. I think that'll do it for us tonight. And that'll do it for us tonight. As for next week's recording, it will probably be Thursday, more likely probably Friday instead of the normal Wednesday, which I aim for. Normally record on Mondays. I get the episode out by Wednesday, and if we do an extra recording, I get another one out as well. However, for next week, I have some finals that I'm giving in the beginning part of the week in the evenings for a winter class that I had. So we won't be able to record on our normal Monday. We're planning on recording till Wednesday, so most likely a Friday release. As for what that's going to be, I'm not entirely sure. Probably maybe more Imperium book. We still have to do our rankings related to the Primarch, so I would think one of those two. Mechanicum, I think we're going to wait on a little bit, unless some other good, interesting news has come out. Maybe we just do a general hobby episode and news and all those sorts of things. But we have a little more time to figure that out, so we're not in a particular rush to make our full decisions of what we want to be sure we cover next. Well, as always, I do want to thank everyone who does listen. Remember, we're available on any podcatcher that you want, and we put all of this out on YouTube. I do have that Conquest video that I've been back and forth debating whether or not I want to put it out. I think it would be of interest, but we did, at the time, just make rules mistakes because neither of us was that familiar with the system, so I don't know if that's actually a good thing to put out. I would like to record another one pretty soon, and that other one, we have reviewed and played a lot more, so therefore it'll be a lot more accurate. So might skip the other one for the time being, or maybe if the very beginning of it is worthwhile just to kind of discuss the game and what it's really about as a short introduction. Maybe that's what we'll see. Otherwise, all the normal things everyone asks for, like, subscribe, shares, all that kind of stuff really helps us out. Like I said, we do have a Facebook page. I'll pin it at the bottom of this and all our videos as we go forward. Those are sort of the best ways to reach us. Also our email, trainkickersnj@gmail.com. Our Discord server, I'm putting all of that, finishing touches on that. Mostly I've just been busy, especially we have an event later this month that I have to paint about 60 models for it, so I got about 2 weeks, so I've been spending a good amount of time doing that. But all right, well, that's enough of me for tonight. So on behalf of everyone here at the show, have some good hobbying and some great gaming.